How many customers do you know that have gone to the shop that had the fastest of some car and had a horrible experience? You're grinning, right? Because that is a common thing in our industry. Why? Because that business is focusing on going fast, not taking care of the customer. I would say we're probably the #1 twin turbo C8 company in the country. Not necessarily the fastest, but we've done more.
Are you expecting to beat the record, or are you just going to let it live where it's at?
You mean beat myself? The cool thing about this car, it's got small turbos. It's got 70 millimeter turbos, and they're a 35R frame, which is why at 6130 is so hard. Shop cars getting hurt and people lying about that needs to stop. Well, nobody else's shop cars are breaking. Well, the hell they're not. I love when people say this, oh, this was only on map 5. What does map 5 even mean? Oh, this is only on map 5 of 9. Like, okay, well, is 5 40 pounds and 9's 40 pounds? Then I guess that really doesn't matter, does it?
They call your shop, or they call you, the Slingshot King.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not that guy.
Welcome back to another episode of the Street Alpha Podcast. I am your host, Tukes, and we are back in Florida with another episode. For those of you guys who are watching, listening, make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you guys are watching this episode right now, please make sure you hit that like button. So today, we have the pleasure of bringing you guys Nathan Cicio. We're out here in Florida at Cicio Performance. The shop is a beautiful shop. We're going to have some videos for you guys to see the shop as well while we're talking. So let's give a round of applause for Nathan. Pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, appreciate you coming.
I know we had some conversation before about Ryan. Shout out to Ryan for making this happen.
Yeah.
Chased me down at
Big
TSTK.
shout out to Ryan.
Yeah, so I was pretty humbled by that because now we are in Florida interviewing Nathan Cicio.
Yeah. Almost in July though in Florida. That's not sometimes that is not a good place to be.
Yeah.
It is a scorcher out there, but yeah.
We're fortunate to have some type of AC as well. It is really hot in Florida, and as you guys know, there's a lot of shops probably that don't have AC. So we have AC, but it's not like as cold as you guys probably would think. Yeah. But it's working. We got fans blowing.
Yeah, I think it's like probably in the low 80s. In here. But yeah. We were talking off air about the electric bill. My first one when the guys wanted it to be like 72, like they're going to bed in here or something. Yeah. That wasn't a fun electric bill, so we cranked that baby up. So.
I figured like in a shop like this, you would have to have some type of AC, right?
You would think so. I mean, I guess our shop in Atlanta doesn't have AC.
It doesn't get hot?
I mean, Atlanta's pretty hot, but it's not like this though. You know, like it's hot, but it's not like this. You know, Florida does Florida things. It's a whole new world down here.
So your first shop, how many shops do you have?
Three. Well, 3 shops and a machine shop.
Okay. So you started in the Atlanta shop.
Atlanta, yeah, technically started in Atlanta as doing the professional side of things. Like I started in a little tiny shop, actually in Bismarck, North Dakota, with a bunch of buddies
North Dakota.
North Dakota. So a bunch of buddies just working on each other's cars, and then people started bringing us their cars. Like, hey, we want you to do this. Hey, your car's fast and it works. Like, will you help us with this? So that's where it started, if you want it. But like professionally, yes, it started in Atlanta.
So North Dakota, what is the scene out there like?
Oh man, so yeah, I mean we won't go too deep into this because you don't want to.
No, of course.
But I was
older.
a part owner in a snowboard shop out there with one of my best friends, and always been into cars. So we got into Subarus because it's like North Dakota, right? So it's like why
right.
In the summer you put a sticky tire on it, and in the winter you put a Blizzak snow tire on it and go whip donuts, and go to the mountains with your board racks on and stuff like that, So. Yeah, I remember one time going up to Montana snowboarding, and we were in my Subaru WRX wagon, and we were just like to the boards, made like 450 to the tire way back then, which was a lot back then.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot. And I just had the thing to the boards. We were just sending roosters and just plowing through snow, and snow is just going in the hood scoop. and steam's was coming out.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, but yeah, I got into it up there. Well, I mean, I was into cars before that, but that's where I really started doing turbocharged, tuner type of style cars.
How long were you doing that before you migrated to Atlanta?
So North Dakota was never really professional, right? Like we just had a little shop. It was like 3 buddies in a shop, 4 buddies in a shop. And we just hang out, work on our own cars, and then people knew us. So they would bring their cars to us and be like, hey, I need this, I need that. We had a guy that dabbled in street tuning, your typical like buddies in a shop. And it just kind of escalated a little bit, started getting to know some people in the industry via online, started doing some online, setting up some tunes for a couple of different tuners and having them come up there, and it was very interesting. So it wasn't professional. We didn't make any money doing it. I had a full-time job doing that. But that was probably, I don't know, 3 years. It's interesting though, because like 4 of my employees are from North Dakota, 4 or 5. I can't remember.
Current employees.
Yeah, current employees
Wow.
From North Dakota that I knew back then. Well, one of them was in the shop with me, and one of them knew all about the shop and was there all the time. My tuner, Taylor, he's from North Dakota. That's where we met. Is hanging out there in North Dakota.
And they're still here all these years.
Yep, my CNC engineer is from North Dakota. He's been with me for 7, 8 years. Sorry, Brent, I can't remember exactly how long. So, but yeah, we still I got the roots from there down in Atlanta. None of the employees from here, although my head technician here is from Wisconsin.
You have a shop that's crazy, right? You have a few shops. You seem like pretty laid back about the fact that you started in a small shop. Did you have any ambition to kind of grow it to where it is now?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Initially, it was just like, if I could do that for a living and be successful, I would have arrived, right? Like I was doing okay in the stuff that I was doing, and but it was like, I love that.
Yeah.
So if I could make money doing that, I will have succeeded in life, right? And that's kind of how I felt. So yes, I wanted to scale it. Yes, I wanted to be profitable. Yes, I wanted there to be a brand behind it, and I wanted to service the community. I wanted the community to I wanted to take care of car people, because I saw a big deficiency in the industry with some of the shops that I was dealing with and building my own cars and stuff. Where it was just like, I had bad experiences, like bad customer service, poor workmanship, like not owning their work. I'm like, why has this got to be like this, right? Like somebody should fix this. This is like the greatest industry in the world, right? Like it should be better, right? So that was kind of the basis of the whole thing. So it snowballed for sure. I think professionally since 2008, and I didn't see it going to here. For sure not.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's one of those things when you get in it, it's just one thing leads after another, and then you just start rolling. So
journey's crazy. Do you feel like the shops today are kind of similar to how they were back then? Do you feel like there's still like that gap where you can kind of do a better job with customers, and not you specifically, but just shops in general?
For sure. No, I mean, we can do better. We can do lots better. I work every single day of my life trying to make this place better, and my staff does as well. So the industry as a whole is an interesting thing to me, right? So I'm very, very aware and very in tune with the climate of the industry, and not necessarily my competitors, but just the industry as a whole. It's mostly the clients and the clientele, right? And I'm very, I don't want to say worried, right? But I work very hard, and my staff works very, very hard to make this not a business in a money-making sense, but like a business. So what does it take for a business to succeed? It takes a proper product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a consistent product, consistently being able to repeat something over and over again, that a customer could then enjoy and trust, right? It takes customer service, right? It takes calling somebody back. It takes picking up the phone. It takes emailing somebody back. It takes being respectful. It takes being honest, right? Like it doesn't just take going fast and beating the guy next to you, right? And there is a lot of that in our industry, right? Mm-hmm. And not a lot of focus on how do we make this a business. Now, and again, I'll lay the groundwork for that a little bit. I'm not talking about turn the car world into a business to make millions of dollars. Just in case anybody's ever wondering, you kids out there that want to do this for a living, you will never make millions of dollars. Ever. Okay. Like,
Oh, that's your camera, by the way.
oh, that's my camera. Yeah. You will never make millions of dollars ever. No, I mean, it's seriously like that.
You're serious about that?
I'm 100% serious. Like this is not a big money making industry. It's not. The liability is high. The risk factor is extremely high. The profit margins are extremely low. Like the only way you're making decently big money in this industry is you're importing stuff from China and selling it at a premium.
Right.
And I'm not. That's not my thing.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like as a shop owner, you're going to have a shop. You're not making a ton of money. Like it's just not happening. I mean, I've got 3 shops. The 4 with the machine shop. They all operate decently well and they're all profitable. And that it's not. I could have made a lot more money doing something else.
Right.
I wouldn't change it for the world. But so anyway, I won't get off on that tangent.
That's interesting though. I that kind of sucks though to hear, because I mean, if you're getting into it, like, especially at this level, like you would think that it's like, oh, these guys are making.
You're
so
doing
much
it
money.
right. Just keep doing YouTube. There's money. I mean, if you go big, there's more money in that than there is in this. And there's no liability. Nobody's calling you back going, hey, my car blew up. And you go, oh, crap, there's 50 grand down the hole.
Yeah.
Unless
somebody trips over a wire or something.
You're right. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Well, you just pretend you don't have enough money to sue you. It's good. No, so anyway, so I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about making it a business to make a ton of money, because that is literally impossible. What I'm talking about, well, I think it's impossible. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about making it a business in the sense that you're actually serving a client and creating a brand that has value to a customer to be able to change the industry or elevate, I should say, the industry as a whole. And that's been something it's very dear to my heart, because I see a lot of, and I say this, it's politically correct. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but like there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of the grudge racing and like it's not like it used to be, where it was like you go out, you shake a guy's hand, you race him, who won, and you shake the guy's hand again, and then you go have a beer. Like it's not as much like that anymore. And there's just a lot of tension. There's a lot of division, right? Kind of like America right now. You can cut that part out.
I'll leave it in.
Did you watch the debate last night? Anyway,
I was talking to my girl about
no, we're not going there. No. So,
oh man.
Anyway, so there's a lot of division, right? And this is the greatest industry in the world, in my opinion, right? Yeah. It's amazing, right? And we should all be like arms linked. There's enough stuff fighting us. How much stuff is fighting us right now, right? You got the government, right? No, again, not to bring that up, but there's a lot of stuff right now that they don't like what we're, exactly what we're doing, right? They want us to all drive Teslas, right? Like they do, right? Not that some Teslas aren't fast, and if you drag race your Tesla, there's no hate, but I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of stuff against us, right? And the cars are getting smarter. The manufacturers are trying to keep us out of them, right? Like the encryption is getting thicker, like. All this stuff is against us. There's so much stuff against this industry that is trying to just smother it, right? And then instead of linking arms like a small little army and going, no, you're not going to take us out, we're freaking bayoneting the guy next to us. You tell me I'm wrong. I'm not, right? Like
that's
right?
how, yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So we're over here like so short-sighted that we are literally arguing over whose car goes 100th faster, 60 to 130, or something that goes out. Oh, my car bogged, my car this. Oh, I didn't, the tree, that there was an issue with this. There's an issue with like, what are you doing? Or like literally fighting. I saw it at Texas 2K this year. I saw a guy rip another guy out of a freaking car.
This year?
Yeah, at Texas 2K, like through the window, right? Like over March. Yes, over a street race.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah, so like it's like or over a perceived street race, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't get into this scene. So, but like, what's that about? Like, what are we doing? What is going on? Like, that's like, you're looking right here, bro. Like, come on, right? Like, so, and I'll be honest, I don't even know who it was. It's not like that. Like, I'm just saying, like, why would anybody be doing anything like that in this industry? We should be like this. That's the only way we're going to survive, right? Like, so I'm very, very, very passionate about trying to create a space that not only links arms with as many of the other people that are similarly minded as me in the industry. I would call them the key players, I mean, it doesn't even have to be it doesn't matter, just as long as you're like-minded, right? Yeah. Like, and trying to push forward against the outside forces that are against us. That sounds cheesy, but it's really the truth.
No, you're right.
So business wise, that's what I'm trying to create. That's what it's not me. The staff does it way better, more than I do, but that's what we are trying to do, is we're trying to make it so that the industry grows, right? Like if I build your car and you really like it and you enjoy it and you receive great customer service, and the car works, and even if it doesn't work, that customer service is there. I'm honest with you. Maybe I'm apologetic. Maybe I say, hey, listen, that's racing. You know, the car makes this much power, whatever. But I'm being honest with you. This is what got hurt,
this could
right?
happen, yeah.
Right. And there's a good rapport there, right? You're gonna tell 5 buddies, man, I love my car. I love my car. I like going out in the garage. I love when I hit that key. I love when I back it out of the garage. I love it. I love taking the girlfriend out in it, the wife out in it, my kids out in it. I love taking a dinner, car shows. Like it's the thing that brings me joy. It's the thing that makes me smile, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, you're gonna tell 5 buddies that. Okay, so let's say those 5 buddies build a car. They're not all going to build a car with me. You're going to say, I had a great experience with Cicio. One of those guys is going to be in Colorado. One of the guys is going to be in Texas. One of the guys is going to be in California.
Yeah.
One of them is going to be in Chicago. A couple of them may come to me because they're like, hey, he had a really good experience there, right? So let's go to him. A couple of guys are going to someplace else. But what's the old saying? A rising tide rises all ships, man. So like 5 people building their cars is way better than you having some experience where I'm like, there's no customer service. We don't call you back. We overcharge you without telling you why. You know, the thing isn't repeatable. It blows up several times. I lie to you. I tell you that it was this when it was really that. Like, right? Like, and then you're like, hey, bro, don't build your car. like this has been hell, right? Like, because we have a lot of new people getting in the industry right now, especially with these things. Yeah. Right? Like there's a lot of fresh people getting into loving these cars because they're so capable, and a lot of good people with that are successful, and it's great for our industry. These cars are amazing for our industry as a whole, right? But if we create an experience for them that isn't a quality one, then what we're going to do is we're going to start diminishing the amount of customers there are. Who cares whether the customer goes to me, whether they go to T1, whether they go to AMS, whether they go to Workhorse, whether they go to, Auto Trends, whether they go to, it doesn't matter. Hefner is right down the street here. Yeah. Victor at Induction. Like, I don't care where you go, just go, right? It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't, if I'm lucky enough to get the customer, great. I'll treat him as best I possibly can. But at the end of the day, just go build your car, right? Yeah. And tell 5 guys, because one of those guys will come to me. Right. Right. So anyway, maybe a long-winded answer to the goal of growing the industry in a positive space and in a positive way, and building it into a business, right? Because you have to have key things for a business to be successful, right? You have to have those things, and promise you, a really, really fast car ain't one of them. Like that is not it. That is not it. You go out and like have a fast car that busts stuff on the street or like, whatever, like that's not it. That's not the thing that builds a successful business. It isn't it. I mean, don't get me wrong. We build fast stuff, right? Like I'm very proud of it. I think we're very good. One of the best at what we do. I wouldn't put my mind to something if I didn't think I could be the best at it. Mm-hmm. But that's not what builds a successful business, because we could build, the staff could build a successful business without this car, without that car, right? We could build 600 horsepower cars, and as long as we did it properly, consistently, had processes, procedures, right? Like customer service, and did it right, it would be successful. We don't need, 2,500 horsepower.
So if you don't need 2,500
Sorry, that was
horsepower,
long-winded.
No, that was a good answer. That was a lot of, that was great. If you don't need 2,500 horsepower, why do it? Why have a car like this then?
Okay, that's a really good question, and a question that I really don't know the answer to.
I was like, oh, you about the answer?
No, no, I do. I mean, because we're guys and we're stupid, right? Like, no, I mean, okay. The other side of the industry, obviously, is you are a car guy, right? And you love fast cars, right? If that wasn't the case, we would just leave them stock, right? Like I would just have a stock car, and I would be like a stock broker or a banker or a insurance guy or a lawyer, and I would just have a really nice Lamborghini. Yeah. And maybe I would lower it if I had good taste as a lawyer, right? And that's it. Right. But we're not. We are stupid, and nothing is enough, right? So it's programmed in us. Right. It's a drug. right? Like that, I've never done drugs, but I'm guessing it's a drug. It's very similar, I would think. It's addictive. It's something that it's an accomplishment. It's a goal. There's a goal that you want to achieve, right? And you just want it to be faster. Now, some guys obviously do it because they want to be the guy next to them. They want to be faster than their buddy. They want to be faster than another shop. They want the faster than another shop thing really needs to stop, because that's just stupid. But like, that was going to be one of my questions, but yeah, bring it on. Next. Yeah. But the reason is, there's a few reasons. Number one is as a guy that loves cars, that loves modified cars, it's programmed in me. I want the next thing, right? I want to go faster. Yeah. Right. And so then the next thing is, especially with a car like this, right? Like, is as you get in the snowball that is this industry, right? It drags you into bigger, badder, faster, bigger, badder, faster. And the more skilled you and your staff are at building it, it's a train. And you're on it, right? Like, so, and it's very hard to stop. Like, he's like, hey, we made 1,000. Okay, we're never gonna make 1,100 ever, right? Like, everybody's like, what, why, right? Like, no, we got to keep going, right? And so then the customer, if you don't do it, the customer will drag you. It'll be like, your car makes 1,000, I want 1,100. And you're like, well, crap. Now I got to figure out how to make 1,100. Now I got to figure out how to make 1,200. Now I got to figure out how to make 1,500. And I've got to do that, once again, circling back, as reliably as possible, right? Because I need this guy to have a wonderful experience, or girl to have a wonderful experience. I need this car to last. I need it to work. I'm putting my brand, my name on it. I'm going to work my butt off to make it so that it's as good as it can be, right? And hence, especially like the shop cars, I had a GTR before this, and I've had lots of shop cars, but it's like, that's going to make 2,500, so that my customer that wants to make 2,000 will be I got to break that. Right. I got to figure out, where the cast block comes apart to figure out, to tell the customer, hey, don't do that, right? Like, because we need you to have a good experience. I'll hurt this thing. That's fine. Which, again, I don't want to derail, but like, shop cars getting hurt and people lying about that needs to stop. Right? Because that is what they're for. Let them know. Right? That is what they're for. Yeah. That is what they're for. And then the problem is, and I get sucked into it too, because it's like, well, nobody else's shop cars are breaking. Well, the hell they're not. Am I allowed to say hell? Just not talking about it. Right? Like, yeah. Like, right? Like, yeah. I should be proud of breaking that car. Why? Because guess what? It's going to be running again. See, I told you I was going to hit this thing. I should be able to go out and be like, yeah, we blew that shit sky high. Yeah. Again. Am I allowed to say that? I'm sorry. Nah, you get it. I blew that thing sky high, and this is what failed. And this is how we're going to go about making it better, because that's the only reason for that car. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the only reason I own that thing. It's not a bragging. I don't brag about it. I don't care about that car. Like, I do. No, I'm just kidding. See, you definitely care about that car. No, I do. But like, the whole point of the thing is to push the car further than the customer is going to push the car and learn about it. So you asked why. R&D basically. Yeah. So you asked why. The why is, number one, we're stupid and we can't stop. Number two, the customers want to get more and more and more. And I'm not okay with R&D on a customer's car, only to a point. And if you tell a customer, hey, listen, I've never tried this before, this may blah, 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 who knows, that's fine. I mean, some customers actually really enjoy that. But that's what that's for. And then, of course there is an aspect of it that the faster you are, the more elite you are. Right. I mean, there is an aspect of that. I wish that wasn't necessarily the truth. I really do wish that we would have some type of committee that went into all the shops and looked at all of the customer service records, the processes, what happens when a car comes in, does it get checked in, does it get pictures taken of it, does the technician get a sheet that says this is what you're doing and this is how to do it, right? And here's all the torque specs of everything. Like, that would be a really cool metric for success for a shop. Yeah. But that doesn't exist, right?
Can it? Huh? Can it exist?
Well, I mean, you have to have a governing body, I would guess, for that. And I don't know how.
That's actually a really good idea, though.
I mean, that is what separates the men from the boys. Yeah. Like, that is like building a fast car that comes out and does something fast and then gets tucked back into a garage and nobody knows whatever happened to it, or when it's going to come back out again, is not a metric for success. And neither is even taking a car to Texas 2K or Florida 2K or Street Car Takeover and doing 5 passes and the car lasting. Like, great, that's amazing. And I'm not knocking on anybody that makes that happen, because I've not made it happen before, and I've made it happen before. I've built cars that lasted 1 pass and built cars that lasted 5 years, right? Like, it's fine. But Those are the perceived metrics of success. That's what the industry looks at. The industry says, wow, that guy is built, that car goes 7, blah, blah, blah. And I saw it at this event and it did it 5 times. Well, you know, like, right? Like, what does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to take your car to that guy and you're going to get great customer service? Does that mean that you're going to get taken care of? You're not going to get lied to, that your car is actually going to work, that you're going to be, that the timeline's going to be correct, that the technician is going to know what he's doing, that there's going to be consistency in the build? Like, what does it mean? What does that mean? Or does it mean that they just built one fast car, the shop car or whatever, that they can just then push in a corner afterwards if they have to, and went out and showed off with it? So yeah, I was just saying, I would love for that not to be the metric. I think it would be wonderful for the industry.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, if there was a way to make a different metric for advertising and marketing, right? Yeah. Right. Like, think about other businesses. Like, what other business is like, we do this one and done, and that's why you should come to us.
Right.
Nobody that's ever like been consistent in anything. Like, you know, like,
that's true.
Amazon didn't send one overnight package and it show up on time, and then they were like, yeah, we're awesome, you know, buy everything from us, right? Like, that didn't like, you know, Apple didn't make one phone that worked, or 5 phone that works, or one phone that worked 5 times, right? Like,
it just seems very like temporary. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a permanent kind of way to brand yourself.
Thank you. And that's why
that's just how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's why it goes back to linking arms. Yeah. Right? Because like, we're so scared of each other when really we're the ones on the front line together. If you own a shop and I own a shop, right, and your shop's in Texas and my shop's in Atlanta, and you call me and you're like, hey man, I'm having this problem with this car, and I already had that problem on that car, right? And I'm like, yeah, I never heard anything like that. Like, we've never had that problem. But do you have any idea how much that happens in this industry? Like, do you have well, first of all, they don't call, because they're like, he's not going to tell me that, right? Like, they're not going to share that information, right? That's proprietary, right? But it's not your car, it's your customer's car, right? Like, you're calling me because you're up against a wall, if that was theoretically to happen, and it does sometimes. You're up against a wall and your client isn't happy because you're having a problem with your client's car. It's not your car, right? And I am over here like, that guy's stupid. I solved that problem already, and I'm not going to tell him because that's proprietary, right? What does that do? That makes your customer have a bad experience, right? So this, again, you're looking right here. So like, if I tell you, hey, listen, change the cam timing a little bit and that'll stop happening, right? And you're like, thank you, right? Like, it doesn't hurt me none, right? Like, your car then performs, and the theory, the thought process right now is, oh, but then he'll have as good a product as me. Awesome. Because if you have a good as product as me and that guy has an experience that is as good as mine, right? Then he tells 5 friends, we'll go back to it. 3 of them come to him, 2 of them come to me. All of a sudden, the tide just rose. Yeah. Right? But that's not the mentality. The mentality is, this guy's dumb. I figured this out and he didn't. Right? Like, I'm going to keep this in my back pocket. Right? And that's tough. But
I feel like that goes with the sport though, no? Isn't that like, think about it.
Yep.
We're in the space of cars. Sure. Right? Take your car to a track. You're not going to want to tell the next man what you got to your car, what you got done to your car. You're not going to do that. So with that mentality already, just by drag racing, let's say, you're going to implement that into your business as well, I think.
Right.
You know?
Sure. Is it a sport?
What?
I mean, this thing that we're doing, is this a sport? Right? Like we're not doing this to entertain people.
Oh, in terms of a business and customers coming in.
Right. Like you said, it's part of the sport.
Right.
Right. Like you said, it's part of the sport. Yeah. Right. It's not a sport. It's an industry. It's not, I mean, yes. Okay. Yes, we go race each other, but like, we're not over here. It's not Formula One, right? There's not 250,000 people in the stands watching us. We're not making money off of the TV rights. Yeah. Right. We're making money off of building an industry together. A bunch of little businesses that make up an industry, and that is how we are servicing all the people in the industry and making money, and staying making money. We're not making money off of the TV rights. We're not making money off none of us make any money except for Peter, off of the people that come to Texas 2K, right? Yeah. We're not getting a share of the ticket sales.
That's true.
Right. So like, is it really a sport, right? And what do we get? A plastic trophy, right? Like, you win Formula One, you get $300 million. Right, like
300 million is crazy.
Yeah, and that's like the constructors championship is like 300 or 400 million dollars. That's a sport, and that is okay. That can get political, right? Because if I beat you, I make $300 million. Okay, Now we're talking about something. All right. Now I'm not telling you jack that word, right? Because
right.
now we're after something, right?
Yeah.
Like if I win, I beat you, right? Then all of a sudden I get a share of something. There's something. No, if there is a thing that I don't share with you and it makes your customer pissed off, and therefore I go to the race, my customer goes to race with your customer, and my customer beats your customer, right? Like that doesn't make the industry any bigger. It doesn't.
True.
It's not. Nobody's winning. We all think we are.
Yeah.
Or, like because we're looking here.
Yeah.
We're looking at my customer beats your customer, right? Like, well, no, that does like it. Now, don't get me wrong. If that just happens, fine. But if you called me and asked me for advice and I told you shove it up your you know what because I know something and you don't know something, and then my customer beats your customer, that's BS. It's BS. It's not building the industry in a positive way. We're not going the right direction here. Let them both understand what's going on. Let that guy have a great experience with his car. So he tells 5 other guys that tell 5 other guys that tell 5 other guys that he has a great experience and he lost, but it was so much fun doing it, right? Or like, it's not fun losing. I get it. But like it's cars. It's a hobby, right? We're out here having a good time, right? Like winning and losing, like once again, you're not winning $300 million. So if you're going to Texas 2K and you're pissed off because you lost at the end of it, you're going there for the wrong reason. Right? Like you're going to Texas 2K to hang out with your friends, enjoy your car, race. If it races the whole thing, it runs at the end of the thing. You had a couple of steak dinners, a few beers, you got to hoot and holler around a racetrack for a weekend and you didn't get pulled over, cough Texas 2K. Then you had a good weekend, even whether you may have taken a little L or not. I mean, how many times, I don't know a lot about your history, but if you race somebody and you're door to door like this and you win and you're the guy behind, like when you get done, you're man, that was a good race, right?
It's on video.
Yeah, like
we actually out here in Florida.
Right, like you're not like, oh, I can't believe excuses this that way. Man, that was a good race. That was fun.
I did get mad though because bro was definitely capping he was definitely lying about downpipe and tune, but it's all right. It's all right.
Well, anyway, we don't need to blabber anymore about that, but but not that. I'm talking about this. What I'm speaking of. So, but anyway, so. The building the industry in a positive direction is really big for our company. It's something I really want to do very badly, and it's an uphill battle. I feel like I would really like more shops. Any shop that's watching this, like I want more people to get on board, like more people to get on board with linking arms, because we have stuff that's fighting us from the outside, and us fighting internally and trying to rip ourselves apart from the inside it's exactly what it's going to do. Yeah. We're not going to survive. And that maybe that's like cryptic or whatever, but like, dude, there is a real reality of this not being a thing in 20, 30, 40 years, right? Like
20. So you think 20 or 30, 40?
I don't know, but like,
I was thinking like 5.
Well, sure. Well, okay. So I'm saying there's a real reality of not being a thing in 20, right? But like
5 is crazy, but yeah.
5 is crazy, but like, yeah, but let's get real. 20, like I don't know how old you are. I'm 44.
33.
Right. So 20 years, like you're not done. Right, you're not done wanting to play with cars, but if it's over, right, the whole thing,
just
like
getting started.
Yeah, but what about our kids? What about the younger generation that wants to come up and do this? We have to preserve this damn sport. Like sport, I just call it a sport. Industry, anyway.
No, so that was something that I speak about off camera, but it's a good topic to talk about because the way you addressed it is as straightforward as possible and professional. It's not like you talking, crazy about other people, even throwing names in there. So I think that had to be said, and that was probably the best way to say it.
Yeah. I really hope I would really like it to start a change. I really would. I really would.
Do you think that it gets easier that's kind of stupid to say, but like as you have more employees and as the business grows, you think because you can kind of take a step away? No. Because I feel like that's the mindset too people have. Like you grow big enough to where you don't have to worry about it, and then you can kind of focus on other businesses or other streams of income.
No, it doesn't get easier. I have been very fortunate in my staff around me. My staff I have the best. I'm not going to throw out there that I have the most incredible, fastest cars or I have the best staff in this industry. Bar none, my people are better than, I have the best staff in the industry. They're incredible. And I'm very lucky, very, very lucky. They take ownership. They love the clients. They love the cars. They love the product. And nobody, and it's not like one guy is an odd man out. Like the entire company moves as a unit. 100%. There's no bickering. There's no egos. There's no, it doesn't exist in my company, right? My company ejects guys like that. If I hire a tech that won't ask for advice, that does things his own way, that has an attitude when he comes in the morning, that throws a wrench, dude, that guy, I don't even have to fire him. Like my company will just eject him. The people are just like, nope, not this guy. He's out. Like they'll come in, tell the manager, this guy's got to go. Like it doesn't happen. There's a united force. So answering your question, that's hard. No. So stepping away from this industry is hard, right? Like, so like I started this thing. I went through the trials, right, of learning it. And there's a lot of stuff up here, whether it's business, whether it's marketing, whether it's engines, whether it's tuning, whether it's tire and wheels, whether it's whatever it is, there's just a lot of stuff. And trying to pass that along to individuals is extremely, extremely hard because this industry is not only extremely complicated, it's getting more complicated, right? Like it is. And so are people, the world, and running a business. Yeah. Right. All of it's getting more complicated. There's more laws. There's more tax laws. There's more this. There's more that. There's more people coming in and checking your code and your fire extinguishers and your this and your that. There's just more of that. It's just getting more difficult to run a business. So do I think that it's getting easier? No, I don't think it's getting easier. Can I take more time than I used to 10 years ago to not be here all the time? Absolutely, I can. But that doesn't mean I don't get 100 phone calls a day from my staff, right? Like the reason that I cannot be here on site is because I have amazing people that there's a hierarchy of communication and of authority, and then I get a phone call, right? Or, you know, and I'm almost always at one of the locations, almost always. I don't take like big vacations or anything. So scaling this thing to be able to step away, is that a goal in the future? A little bit. More because I want to give my staff more ownership, right? Like I want to give my staff more like literal ownership. Like the whole goal with the whole place when I retire would be to give it to the staff or the staff's kids, if that'd be possible, right? Like I don't, somebody would have to write a massive check to actually like buy the company from me. And I can promise you once they look at the books, they take the check back. So you know, that's not in the goal, like selling the businesses in the goal. But it carrying on as a brand, that's something I would really like to do. So what makes things easier in this business is the same thing that makes things easy in every business, and that is processes and consistency, right? Like that is what makes things easier, right? Like if like you do the same thing, you do the one thing the same way 100 times, and you refine it through that, right? Like there's not a lot of shops that I know of from owners that I have talked to that operate in that sense, but that's what makes it easier is making things consistent, establishing a hierarchy of command, communication, and nailing down how to make things repeatable, both from a client perspective and from a car perspective. That's what makes things easier, so that instead of me getting a phone call, I go, well, that's in writing, just print it out. Right. Like, or that's, we already know how to do that. And this is where we documented it. Just go there. Or the last time we did this, it took this many hours, go to the system, pull it up and read it, and you'll know, right? Like, and that's any business. Yeah. That's any business in the world. Right. So it's not just this business, but I will say, spinning it back, there's very few people operating shops like a business. Right.
Yeah. That's literally what I was. Yeah.
So it doesn't happen a lot. Right. So like that doesn't happen a lot in this industry, which I'd love it to happen more.
I agree 100% with that, because sometimes even
have we lost you guys yet? Should we start talking about drag racing?
We'll get there. We'll get there in a second, guys.
So
this is important
on
information.
YouTube, like the on the right side, you just double click it and it goes 10 seconds forward. I don't know if we've lost anybody.
No, but like,
they're like, what is this? A business podcast? I didn't know this was CNN.
I mean, they see the intro, so they know there's going to be some drag racing talk as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. I hope the highlights reel at the beginning is really good. These guys are like click.
Yeah.
Like, when is this guy gonna start talking? Like,
that's how it usually goes, right? So going back to what you said real quick before we move on to the next topic, you said you wish there was more people that were running their shops like a business, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes when you start something and you have a passion for it, somebody just comes up to you and say, hey, like this is a dope car. How'd you do it?
Yes.
You know, can you do my car?
Yes.
And then from there leads on to other builds and so on, but you don't even think about the business side of things. You're just going because you enjoy it.
100%.
So when do you make that switch in your head to say like I have to start taking things serious and start keeping track of things, be on top of customer service, make sure cars get done the right way? Like, how do you make that switch? Because I have that same issue too, even with this. Like, as a creative, it's hard to be a business person because I don't have that background.
How do you make it? When do you make the switch? I mean, technically the switch should be made from day one, right? But like, okay. I didn't do that. I was a decade in, right? Like, honestly, I turned 40. When I turned 40, I was like, I'm either doing this or I got to go do something else, right? Like, I am either going to go all in here and make this a real company, brand, something that is established and substantial, or I got to go do something else. And so it took me, I mean, it was 2008. I can't remember when I turned 40. What years? I turned 40 in 2020, I think. 2019. 2019? Whatever. It doesn't matter. But, so 5 years ago, we'll call it 5 years ago almost. And that's when I made the switch. That's when but I did it. I was over a decade. It was, yeah. So it was 11 years of what I'll just blatantly call, and I'm saying this to myself, just stupidity. Like, of just like one thing after the other, just trying to survive, trying to make cars fast. Yeah. Right. Like just doing our best, robbing from Peter to pay Paul. This guy paid for the parts. Now we can finish that guy's car. How much does that happen in this industry? Right. Like a lot. Yeah. I mean, a lot. You want to talk about, we're not even going to go there when it comes to like actual business running like with the financial side of most shops would make customers cringe. I'm telling you, like, stop. Like, I need to not go down that road. I'm telling you, if you actually could like look at the financial like status of a shop before you sent your car there, dude, you have no idea. I mean, it would be bad. It'd be.
Yeah, I can't go there either.
Yeah. Okay. Let's both not go there. Anyway, hint. Put that in the intro. Yeah. Maybe people would have made it to here if it was in the beginning. Anyway, the switch should happen right away. Why? Yeah. Because we want it to be sustainable. We want it to be good for the client. We don't. Again, I'll say it again. We're not making a ton of money, right? Like, if you're making whatever, we're not going to throw numbers out there, but like, there is no 7-figure incomes in this industry. It doesn't exist, right? In my opinion, unless you have something else, right? Like, like, not to throw them under the bus or whatever, but like Injector Dynamics is an extremely successful company, and Tony has done a great job with it, along with his partner, and they've done a wonderful job with Injector Dynamics, and that company probably makes pretty good money because they sell a lot of injectors, right? But that's not a shop. My gut is, and I've never talked to Tony about this, that his shop makes peanuts, right? Like, it looks awesome. He does a great job. He does an incredible shop, but like, I would bet his shop makes peanuts, right? Like, so back to it. It should be day one. Why? Number one, so that you don't have to rob from Peter to pay Paul, so you can financially sustain, so you can have good customer service, so you can have good processes, so that things can be repeatable, so on and so forth. But the number one thing is so the client can have a good experience, because that's what the whole thing is about, right? That's what the whole thing is about. Yeah. Make it so that your customer enjoys his car for whatever it is that he wants to enjoy his car doing. That's what your goal is. That's what you're here for, right? And I will tell you, running it like a business creates that experience. It may seem counterintuitive, but it's not, because businesses have repeatable products, customer service, all the things that a client needs to be satisfied and happy. So the switch should be day one. It's not. right? Because you're 100% right. And this is not knocking anybody because I was this guy, but you got a guy that's got a talent. He's a mechanic. He's a tuner. He's a head porter. He's a whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And he gets so good at it, the more people want him to do it, then he hires another guy, then he hires another guy. And then that's how most shops start. Right.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the guy that owns the shop is just the mechanic, not just because again, please, don't burn me at the frickin' stake here. Like, but because I was the same thing. I mean, I tuned my own car. I would wrenched on my own car like that 100%. And I still love working on stuff. Like I don't get in the shop much to do cars because quite frankly, the stuff we're doing now is over my head. But I have a boat and my girlfriend will tell you, I am in the engine room of that boat like hours on end because I love working with my hands. That's where things started. Because a lot of times that's what happens. You got a tuner, you got a mechanic, right? But he's a mechanic, right? But most of the people that get to a certain point in this industry are smart enough to switch. They're smart enough, or they're smart enough to like then put the people around you, right? Like put the hire. Like what happens when, I mean, none of us are good at everything, right? So what do? You hire it, right? You staff your weaknesses. What's your weakness?
You staff your weaknesses. I like that.
Sure. You got to admit those first.
Okay.
You got to admit that weakness first, which is the other problem with this industry.
Yeah,
is you got a whole bunch of ego run shops because the guy was a tuner or a mechanic or a street racer or a whatever first. Then you got ego, right? So now you got to break that ego down in order to then like actually figure out your weaknesses and then to staff those weaknesses and admit fault. Admit fault. What does that mean? That doesn't happen a lot around here, right? Like, right? So that goes back to
yeah. These are a lot of gems, man. So even at 40, guys, 40, right? Or
I'm 44 now. 40 is when it switched.
At 40 is when it switched. So that means that if you guys are opening up a shop or thinking about one, you guys should take it serious from jump.
100%. Yeah, and staff your weaknesses. 100. Like don't
and staff your weaknesses.
Yes,
I like that a lot.
Yes, if you're a tuner, if you're a mechanic, if you're getting into this, figure it out. Like figure out what you can. Nights, weekends, whatever you got to do. If you don't know anything about accounting and you don't have the money to hire an accountant, go on YouTube, go Google it, go take a class, go do something. Don't just plow ahead and think I'm just going to make the next car and then the next car. And once I get the deposit on that car, it'll be better because this, don't do that. Like it's not, it is a recipe for disaster. So I'll say this and then we'll move on to another subject. But you said about the switch. When should it happen? When does it happen? I'll tell you when it usually does happen. When they're broke.
What's broke though?
Not the car. It's when right. Like I'm not pointing at you, man. You're not broke. Okay, we drove you right there. No, it's when the money runs out. It's when it's getting too bad to ignore. That's when usually it switches into we have to turn this into a business somehow, right? Like I've got to make money. Right, we got to figure out how to sustain life. I got to put food on my kids' table, or whatever it is. Right, my staff. That's usually when it switches. So usually, what will happen is you'll get like a bunch of gung ho, and the tuner or the mechanic, and it'll kind of go downhill, and then it'll be Rob and Peter to pay Paul, and then like it depends on who the person is, how they then start like knee jerking from that, whether they start marketing in a negative direction or marketing in a positive direction. But then it usually gets to the point where they're at their breaking point, where it's just like, okay, we have 10 cars out back, we don't have the money to finish any of them, like there's no new cars coming in the door, like I got to figure out how to. I either got to do something else or I got to figure out how to do this. And then that's usually the
breaking point.
Yeah, that's where you're going left or right. And then that's what happens. Sometimes people either go works for somebody else. They shut the shop down. They do like whatever, or they put their head down, change their mentality a little bit, and they own a business.
I got to be careful what I say, but it happens a lot.
The industry needs it.
Especially in New York, especially.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I grew up in upstate New York. I didn't spend any time in the city. I've got a couple of customers up there, but yeah, I mean, I've heard.
Yeah,
right.
It happens a lot, and sometimes when you see these things, it sucks. But I'm not the shop owner. I can't say anything when you see somebody going through something like that. Like, you know what they're going through. You know what the shop is doing, but you can't really say anything.
No.
And like you said, like there has to be that point where, you kind of wake up.
And then we're not going to go down this road unless you really want to, but then you add social media into the whole thing, and that just really screws everything up. That messes everything up.
Yeah.
Because then everything's fake or can be fake. The hype train is real, right? And it is the wrong train. It is the wrong train.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the social media stuff.
So anyway, but yeah, it is. It's a bummer, but I think I haven't given up on it. And I don't think I should. I'm not saying it's gloom and doom. I'm just saying, like, I think that the entire industry needs to kind of wake up a little bit to an extent and really link arms and try to be better together, because it'll make the customer experience better. And then guess what? We'll all make more money. We'll all have more customers. Everything will be better. Everything will be bigger, right? Like the whole thing.
Well said. Well said. All right. Damn.
All right, let's talk some crap.
No. So you did mention before that you when you were younger, you used to wrench on cars a lot, and obviously now you're not. So what was the most common car that you were wrenching on back then?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I grew up, Dad was a car dealer, always around cars, motorcycles, four-wheelers, messing with something, right? Like flipping a four-wheeler upside down in the pond and then trying to figure out how to get it running again before my dad found out that I, put rust through the entire cylinder, or whatever it may be, we were really into old muscle cars,
So you have a background with American muscle cars.
I shouldn't say background, right? Like my dad loved to learn, still does.
Yeah.
Love American muscle cars. And my first car, we'll call it, was a 67 Camaro.
Okay.
Convertible.
67.
Yep. Yeah. 67 Camaro convertible, 327 4-speed. It was a wonderful car. Now, I never drove it. It was like we bought it to restore it, and that kind of never really happened.
Right.
But then I got into I had a Monte Carlo and a couple things, and then I would say the teeth got caught on the 5.0.
Five really?
Yep, the 5.0 Mustang was my thing. I lived here. And that's where I started getting into like modifying cars, blowers, upper and lower intake manifold, H pipe, this, that, does it got flow masters or does it have, that's where their thing started. And then I moved from there to North Dakota, not really, but we'll skip the whole middle part, and then got into turbocharged cars because I needed something all-wheel drive. So I needed something all-wheel drive. I needed either a DSM, which I had.
You had a DSM?
Let's really not talk about that.
What,
no offense
a 1G or 2G?
Huh?
A 1G. 1G. Okay.
Yeah. I had both actually, but the 1G was the car that, it almost made me not sitting here right now.
Oh,
Definitely.
really?
Not in death, but just in hatred of automobiles.
Oh, shit, dude. I feel your pain, man. I was still trying to get my best friend's car started. It's been sitting for about 3 years, maybe 4, something like that.
Yeah, so then I did all-wheel drive stuff. So then it was the DSM and then the Subaru, and then from the Subaru to the Evo, and then into some Honda stuff, and I've been all over the place.
Now, these are cars that you personally worked on?
Owned, worked on, built, tuned.
Wow.
Tuned with friends, tuned with, not myself.
Yeah. That's crazy. So how do you get to cars like this? Do you, like you said before, you don't even really work on these cars. This is kind of above you, but like
you screw a lot of stuff up and you just keep going
on a car like this though.
No, I'm just saying, like through the you said, how do you get there? You just keep on screwing things up, figuring it out, and keeping on going like that. I mean, that's literally what it is, right? Like, oh, that didn't work, let's do that now. It's just tenacity. That's all it is.
Yeah,
because there's no school. What are you going to do? There's no way to teach this stuff. It's all experience. That's why the tagline of the company is own the experience. So, and it's kind of a twofold thing, right? Like own the experience, but you can't buy it.
Right.
Like you can't buy experience. It's impossible, right? So like that's all it is. It's just like that didn't work. That sleeve dropped. This didn't work. That head gasket didn't work. We got to do this. Those gears broke. Don't use those anymore. That tuning strategy, but tulip valves. Don't do that anymore. That broke this. Like let's try this. Like, I mean, that's what it is, right? Like that's the only way to get from point A to point B in this industry is just continue to screw up. And then what separates the men from the boys are two things. Number one is how willing you are to admit fault and go back and do everything you possibly can to make it better. Right. And go to the next step. And then literally just raw tenacity, just because that's all that it was. I mean, it's just, GTR stuff was like awful. right? Like I was off. I mean, I love GTRs, but like,
Yeah.
but like the GTR is probably how we got here, right? Like we graduated from Subarus and Evos to GTRs, and that's probably what projected us into where we are right now, because those cars obviously are extremely capable.
Right.
But like the first 7 years of GTRs was like, it was horrible. I mean, it was just like, I mean, we were the head of, I mean, we won Texas 2K in 2010, 2011.
Oh, wow. That was like, damn, that was like the third or fourth year of it, right? The car being out?
You're right. Yeah, exactly. 2011, I think it was, we won Texas 2K. Don't quote me if somebody goes back and looks, but it was 11, somewhere in there. But like, and that was back in the day when it was like, the cars were, I think we won, I don't want to say that we won with like an 890. Or an 880 or something like that. And it was unheard of. And it was like, boom, you're on the map. Because we were like, we're here. Like, 'cause we went 880s.
So that was before AMS?
No, AMS was around. We worked with AMS.
No, I'm saying like they weren't breaking any records at that time.
You know what? I can't remember whether Ivan and Martin and the guys from AMS were there that year, and then whether Omega was there, and they broke, or whether they didn't, or whether maybe they were in an exhibition class. Dude, that was a long time. That was when it was at Hennessy, like way back in the day. Way back in the day. Well, Hennessy. It's not way back in the day, but it's quite a while ago.
That's a long time ago now.
So anyway, but yeah, I can't remember whether they broke or whether they weren't there, but they were around. We were almost at every event together. Right. I got really close with those guys at AMS. So, anyway.
So with the R8, right? Because this is, I mean, what car do you consider yourself to be most known for right now?
Well, right now it's got to be that V10 market, right? It's got to be the R8.
R8, right?
Yeah.
So with this platform, what are some of the things that you realized about it that would take your business to the next level with this platform?
I mean, just to be honest with you, the car does everything well, right? And if you've been through the trenches, which we have, and I could talk about trenches that would make your toes curl. They still make mine curl. And so if you come through the trenches of trying to make a 3,000 horsepower 6-cylinder live, I'm not saying these cars are easy, because they're not, but like you take that experience, you take everything you learned, right? They're all nuts and bolts. They kind of work similarly. You start figuring out the pitfalls, but what this car does that is it makes, I don't want to make it say it's not easy. What it does is it gives the customer an experience like no other car, because you can jump in this thing right here that makes 2,300 the tire. And I'm not exaggerating to you right now. If I put the stock seat in it, which just got 2 carbons in it right now, you could drive that thing to California with zero discomfort, like zero. No clutch lurching, no shifting weird, it's got AC, power steer, everything works like it rolled off the showroom floor until you lay your foot into the thing. And then it just is mind-boggling. And I've driven everything fast there is to drive. And that thing, it is mind-boggling how fast it is. So these cars have really, they've given all of us, the industry as a whole, a real opportunity. Yeah. Which again, don't squander. I'm saying that to the industry as a whole. Don't squander this opportunity, because we've got a good opportunity here. And if we ruin these customers, we're screwed.
This episode of the Street Alpha Podcast is brought to you by RACEMOTIVE. Bring your car from the streets to the track at RACEMOTIVE racing events in 2024. From Pocono Raceway, Maryland International Raceway, New Jersey Motorsports Park, and new this year, Maple Grove Raceway, RACEMOTIVE brings you top-tier roll racing events. Their Olympic-style grading system ensures precise measurements for fair competition. From the high-friction NASCAR surface at Pocono to fully prepped drag strips, every race promises excitement and fairness. So bring yourself and your car and use Street Alpha Pod for 10% off all tickets, whether you spectate or race at racemotive.com. Don't miss your chance to race with the best. I was going to say, because a lot of people market that experience with these cars, the fact that you don't have to do much to them and you can make a lot of power on them and drive it anywhere, groceries, whatever it is, and be fine. Yeah. So what makes your experience different from another shop that's also doing these kind of cars as well? Because it's kind of similar. You hear that often with these cars, But do you think it's more of the platform that was already built or what you're creating?
Well, what we've been through, right? So there's a lot of people jumping in these things that are, you know, like it's sexy. It's sexy, right? You get on the bandwagon. It's a Lamborghini. It's an R8. It's easy. It's easy to make power. You can just buy a turbo kit and slap it on, or buy a clutch and slap it in, and you can pay this guy to come over here and tune it. Like, first of all, that's disaster waiting to happen. I don't care how easy it is. Like, that is a disaster waiting to happen. Like, too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Like, right? Like, I'm not gonna say the thing that I'm thinking about saying, but no, like that is a disaster waiting to happen, and that will, once again, it'll ruin the industry. And you're seeing it. If you're online anywhere, you're seeing like how many guys have their Lamborghinis and they took it to some shop, right? And that shop put on some turbo kit because they convinced the guy that they were God's, gift, right? Since sliced bread, right? And they pay some guy overseas or that's never seen the car to log in and blindly tune it, and then they have this issue and that issue and this. And the stock motor cars are like, people are getting by, but like once they start digging into the built motor stuff, it's not like that. So what sets us apart? I'll go back to that question. A couple of things. Number one, once again, it's just customer service. It's how we treat our customer. It's our family, right? It's what we provide for that client, whether it be consistent updates, whether it be honesty, whether it be an experience at the track, because we do a lot of trackside support, whether it be, it's a community, right? And I treat it like a community because I want these guys to enjoy their automobile. That's the only reason I'm doing this, right? I want that guy, my customer, to enjoy that car. That's all that is my number one goal. And so that sets us apart because my whole staff is very focused on that. And there's a lot of people that aren't. They're focused on how fast the car is. What can I post next?
Horsepower numbers. Yeah,
right? Like where can I go? Who can I beat? What can I go on the racetrack? What can I go on the street? What can I, like they're pumping their chests, and that's not what we're focused on. We're focused on the customer experience. What do you want? What's good for you? Is 800 horsepower good for you? Is 1,000 horsepower good for you? Or do you need 2,500? And if you have 2,500, this is what comes with 2,500. Don't just give me $250,000 to give you a 2,500 horsepower car. I need you to understand this is what comes with that. And here's the options. Here's the possibilities. Here's the highs and here's the lows. Here's the peaks and here's the valleys. Are you sure you're in? Right? Because you got to set those expectations, and that's not happening a lot. So that's one thing that sets us apart is the experience and the honesty and the reality of that. Number two is the experience of us, right? Like, I've been doing this a long time. My staff's been doing this a long time. I got a lot of smart guys. I retain my employees. I have employees that have been with me for 10 years. That's not something that happens in this industry a lot, right? Yeah. Like, we've been around the block. We know what we're doing. My tuner is incredible. He knows what he's doing. There's no ego. It is a team effort, and our stuff works, right? It works, and it works very, very well. And that's because of the trenches. Yeah. We've been through that, right? So you're going to have to go through some stuff to get to where I'm at, right? We as a company, you're not just going to arrive, right? I don't care if you have the money. That's another thing. You can't come into this industry with money and think it's going to work. It doesn't. Like, you come in and start a shop when you got money, that ain't it. That doesn't do it. Because you haven't been where I've been.
In terms of a shop. So if I walked in here with $250,
no. I'm not talking about a customer.
My car built, brother.
No, I'm not talking about a customer. I'm talking about a shop owner.
Right? Like, what do you mean?
Because that happens. Guys will just be like, oh, that looks fun. I'm going to start a shop.
Yeah.
Right. I've got another company that makes millions and millions of dollars. I'm just going to start a shop. Right. And that doesn't work. So anyway, So what sets us apart is the fact that I've been there. I've been through the trenches. I've blown the head gaskets on 900 horsepower GTRs and 1100 horsepower GTRs, and then I've figured out what works, and I've broken this gear and snapped this valve, and I've done it all. I've done that, right? So the experience really sets us apart because we've been doing this a long, long time, right? I mean, obviously not in like muscle car days, but kind of. And then I would say finally, it's the fact that we don't outsource a bunch of stuff.
So everything is done in-house if you were to build one of these cars?
Everything except for the transmission build. We do. Okay. We work with Hefner on the transmission build. I'm very, very tight with Dodson, and I'm very, very tight with Hefner. And when we started doing this, there was an option. Do you want to start building transmissions, or do you want to link up with somebody? Hefner has been a very, very good friend of mine for a long time, and he was already doing it. He had been doing it. He had been through those trenches with the DL800, right? Like, because he was one of the first.
Yeah.
Right. So like he had been through those trenches with Dodson, with the DL800 for years, taking the motor or transmission in and out of his car, I would imagine hundreds of times. Right. So I'm like, you know what? That thing, I'm okay. Like, let him do that, which a lot of shops outsource their transmissions. Transmissions are transmissions, right? But we own the machine shop. We do all the machine. And I'm not saying like we don't assemble in-house. A lot of people are like, oh, built in-house. No, like that doesn't mean like put the heads on the thing. Like we do everything. We have a CNC. We have, you know, we do honing, we do line honing, we do all the balance work in-house. We do all the head. We have a SERDI. We do all the head work. We do everything. Everything is done in-house. Everything.
And this is in Atlanta. Okay.
Well, Alpharetta. So it's about 100 yards from my first shop in Atlanta. So that's huge, right? So, but then you tie that with the fact that the guy that just put the pistons and the rods and knows all the clearances, knows everything about what's going on inside of that engine. He knows what the piston to wall is. He knows what the wrist pin bushing is made of, how big the wrist pin is, what the main bearing clearance is, what the rod bearing clearance is, what those rods are made of, what the, you know, tensile strength is. I'm not going to continue to go, but like,
no, I got you.
Which valves do we have in that thing? What springs do we have in that thing? Have we upgraded this? Do we try something new? Did we not try something new? Right. And so right next door, working for the same company with the same paycheck is the guy that's installing it, right? Like, hey, watch out for this. Hey, put a sensor there. I'm curious what the oil pressure is in this place. I want to know what the cam angle is here. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do this. So that when this comes apart or when we build the next one, I'll have that data for that. That is so powerful. It is more powerful than anybody that's not deep in this industry understands.
Right.
And then it rolls right off that lift and it backs right on the dyno and the tuner that is, and Taylor is, he's a godsend. The kid is, he's not a kid. He is incredible, but he works for me, right? He works for me.
Right.
And he's happy too. The team is incredible. Him and I, we work together seamlessly. Same with him, with the staff members. So he'll go to the technician. What did we change? What did we do? What's going on with this car? What cams does it have in it? What crank does it have in it? What's going on? Okay. The technician will walk over. Oh, it's making this much power. The engine builder will come down from the engine shop. Okay, the oil pressure is here. This is doing this here. Oh, next time maybe I'll open these bearing clearances up a little bit. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. It's all one unit, right? It's not like, okay, I ordered an engine, came from the machine shop.
Yeah.
Right. I went in by this technician. I called the tuner and he's in a different state or a different country. He logged into the car in the middle of the night and we did some dyno pulls, right? And he said, something's wrong, figure it out. Right. So now I called the engine shop and the engine shop said that it's the tuner's fault and the tuner said that it's the engine shop's fault. And then both of them think there's a possibility the installer didn't do it right. Right. Like, what are we doing?
I've
what are we
heard
doing
that
here?
story a couple times.
Yeah. Right. Like, what are we doing? So what sets us apart? That doesn't happen. The buck stops right here.
Yeah.
Right. Like the transmission, but if the transmission fails, Hefner and I are such a unit that we work together on that. And I never say, oh, call Hefner. That does never happen, right? Because this is, you bought the stuff from me.
Yeah.
I own it, right?
Right.
So that is it is more powerful than I can communicate. It's more powerful than I realized it would have been. Like, I didn't know. I mean, I knew to an extent. But when I brought that in-house and we started really teaming up, I'm like, dude, the amount of ego-free data, right? Like, nobody's trying to cover anything up or point the finger at anybody.
Yeah.
There's no egos in this. All we're trying to do is make the next one better. That's all we're trying to do. Nobody gives a crap about anything else except for make the next one better, right? So like, and they're all working as a team to do it. And there's constant, goes back to business, communication. Right. Like there is a process, right? We do the engine. This happens. This guy talks to this guy. That's mandated. Once this guy talks to that guy, he talks to that guy. Then these people talk and all the data is then shared. And then we move to the next one. Right. And we do it better and better and better. So I believe that sets us apart in a major way. There isn't a shop in the country that owns their machine shop. Nobody. So like AMS is the closest one. I believe they do all of their assembly in-house.
Yeah.
Right. And they do a little bit of machine work, but like maybe they do more than I know. But they would be the closest one. But like everybody else, and again, this isn't a bad thing because some of them have wonderful relationships with the machine shops.
Machine shops, yeah.
But we're the only one that does that on the scale that we do it at, and it really sets us apart, in my opinion. The tuner being in house, the installer, and the machine shop, the engine builder, all being under one. And I don't want to say salary, but it means you don't have
one umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have an angle, right? Like if I'm the tuner, I'm not going to be like, if I put a little too much time in it, I'm going to tell Cicio, hey, listen, I put a little too much time in this one. I think I heard it. Because because then next time we just don't put that timing in there, and we don't, and not to mention the fact that my staff is incredible, right? So my tuner and my engine builder, they go on the lake on Saturday, right? They hang out together. They're friends, right? Like, so he's not going to throw him under the bus. Yeah. He's going to be like, I don't know. I didn't put any timing in the thing. The freaking rod bearings just blew out of it, right? He's going to go, no, I think this one's on me, bro. Because he's not going to start a chain of us trying to figure out. Yeah. Right?
All the problems.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful. It's more powerful than I even knew. And I'm pretty sure we'll continue to understand how powerful that is. That is a very long answer to what sets us apart.
That's all right. You answered it though. That's the most important thing, and you closed out, which makes it easier for me to kind of work with the edit. So can you talk about what is done to this? I know there are some, I guess, technical things about this that are done in 2300 horsepower.
We've never put it on the hub dyno.
Okay.
So we've always dynoed it just on the roller dyno, and they start blowing the tires off at like 1800. But like it goes 197 to 100 to 200 in the quarter, whatever that is.
Yeah. Right. So some of the things that
every time it does every time. I love this. That's crazy.
Car. So some of the things that you have realized with this, I know you, like you said, it's trial and error. A lot of things have broken. What makes these motors so good though? Why do they work so well from factory?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not a German engineer, so I that's probably a little over my head. But the engine flows air like no other engine. I mean, I guess like, some of my staff members have told me like the old K series, like the K series engine did in the Hondas, like this is one of the best, flowing engines. I never had a K series, so I don't really know. I was a turboed B series guy. Okay. But the engine it flows an absolute ton of air. It really, really, really works super well when it comes to that. Obviously it's overbuilt, right? Like you get to spread the power. You get to spread the power across several holes, which is nice, right? Like you're spreading. If you're making 1,000 horsepower, just do the math. How many horsepower is each cylinder making, right? And you multiply that by 10,
right?
Sure makes it a little easier, doesn't it? Right? Like each hole gets to make a lot less power or hold or sustain a lot less power. So obviously, they're built very well. Still to this day, like not this car, but I mean cars making like 22 to 2500 have stock cams, which is pretty wild.
Wait, stock cams?
Stock cams.
On what?
On like a 2500 horse. This is one of the first, like UGR's done a few, but like this is one of the first aftermarket cam like V10s in the world.
So what's the
like Helfer doesn't make cams, like GSC, like this is got GSC cams in it. Yeah. But like that's the first, this is the prototype set of cams. They've been in there for 2 months.
So what makes these cams different from the stock ones?
Again, I'm not a cam engineer, so I don't really know. They have more lift, more duration. I mean, like they designed them to be better. They flow a little bit more. We picked up a little bit more horsepower at a lower boost. So they're a better cam, for me to dig into the exact profiles and lifts, like
I got you.
I don't know. But anyway, so the car overall, it flows a ton of air. You get to spread the power across 10 holes. You put turbos on. It's obviously a DCT that works very, very well, and it's over-engineered. I mean, the rods are, designed to hold more power. The pistons are designed to hold more power. The gear set, it's just a robust thing from the factory, which again, we're blessed. We're blessed to have. The industry as a whole is blessed to have, because like what we have to do these cars to make 1,200 horsepower and how well they respond is a blessing. It really is.
So this car right here has the record for, there is a little bit of controversy behind that, right? So who actually owns the record?
Guys, stop clicking ahead. This is where the controversy starts.
So because I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it is said that this car has a record for 60 to 130, right?
So it's a tie, which is actually crazy. And if I showed you the YouTube video, or not YouTube, but if I showed you the GoPro video of me in the car when it happened, and I looked at the thing, and it was the exact same time as Tom, I was like, you got to be kidding me. It's actually hilarious. So it's the exact same time down to I'm bad at this. I think the 10th, because it doesn't measure 100th.
Okay.
We're tied. Draghi came out with a video and said that I did it faster because I did it with less slope.
Okay.
So I did it with less slope, and I think I covered less ground. Like I went a lesser distance to go the same time, and I did it with less slope. So they said, your car is technically faster. They put it in some calculator, and my car technically went like 200ths faster. Whatever.
Now, what map was this on for that? It was like full kill?
Oh, I love when people say this. Oh, this was only on map 5. What does map 5 even mean? Like, what if your tuner set up map 9 to be the slow one and map 5 to be the fast one?
Yeah.
Like, I love that. I love that statement online.
I never thought
oh, this
about
is
it.
only on map 5 of 9. Like, okay, well, is 5 40 pounds and 9's 40 pounds? Then I guess that really doesn't matter, does it? So I commented on somebody the other day. So you should race this guy. Race him on map 9. I said, well, does he have a map 19? Like, what? I mean, what does that even mean? Anyway,
that's funny. I didn't even think about that.
What does it even?
You
matter?
just think that it's just like a numbers thing. You get
higher,
yeah.
right? Like, no, it depends on the tuner. The tuner could just be setting up the way the thing takes the hit different, and it could be the same overall power. Or map 9 could be his burnout map, or his valet map.
Wow.
On my GTR, I made map 9 the valet map just to be funny. Like, yeah, go put it on map 9. It's got a torque limit of 200 foot-pounds of torque.
So why is nobody? So hold on. So why is nobody talking about this then with these cars? They have these cars. They're driving them with maps. How come nobody's ever like?
I think it's hilarious. I don't know. Like, but it is. It's literally stupid. What does that even mean? How much timing is in map 9? How much timing is in map 8? How much boost is in there? What is it? You know, how much torque is it laying to the ground? What's the traction control setting in third? Like, that's what the map switching is for. I could literally have map 0 to 9 be the exact same power all the way through, and it just be traction control differences. What does it mean? It means nothing. The map you're in means nothing. It's a game. It's a joke.
But that makes sense though, because you can
do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Flip it upside down, invert it.
Yeah, different.
So what we do, like in the GTRs, what we'll do is we'll deliver like map 1 through 5 as drag race maps, and then map 6 through 9 as roll race maps. As you know, so like, you know, technically map 5 has way more power in second than map 9 does. Because it's a drag race map, and you're hooking it on the track, right? And so you're going to lay the power to the ground. So you lay the wool to the thing in second gear because you're on the sticky stuff, right? So like technically, map 9 will take a hit in second gear way harder than, or map 5 way harder than map 9. But if you tried map 5 on the street, you'd end up in the barrier, right? Because the thing's just going to go whap, you know, because it's got way too much torque in the map. So that's how
map doesn't even matter.
Map means nothing. Nothing. If you're online and you're fighting with somebody about maps, or they're saying they just did this in this map, just absolutely delete it. It means zero. It means nothing. Wow. I think it's really funny. Oh, this was only on map 7. That means nothing.
That's crazy, but you cleared it up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you can argue with that because it's the truth.
No. If I was a tuner, just a tuner, I would play games with it just for fun.
Yeah, that's what it seems like it is.
Yeah, just turn it down; it'll go faster. That's what I would do. They'd be like, "Well, I was on 3. We'll go to 1. How would 1 go faster than 3? Well, because I have more boost in 1."
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's so funny.
So this thing was on. So the cool thing about this car, it's got small turbos. It's got 70 millimeter turbos, and they're a 35R frame. So most people with these cars,
35R frame.
Frame, right. Okay. So like most guys will put like a 42R frame turbo on these cars because there's tons of room.
Right.
Most guys do that. And that's what almost all of these cars have.
Like an H cover or something like that?
Right. A bigger, like a T4, you know, like a bigger, you know, turbine, like it's a big boy turbo. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason not to. They've got a lot of, you know, they rev really high, so they don't really need to spool them, you know, that crazy. And so there's no real reason not to, except for the fact that like no matter what, you go bigger turbo, you lose the left end, right? You lose the bottom end. You go bigger, you're going to sacrifice on the left side of the graph, no matter what.
Even if you have a smaller hot side?
No, okay, yeah, sure, but there was only so small of hot side for a bigger turbo. So like your 42R frame turbo, like your G42 1450 or whatever, like they have like a 103, I think is the smallest hot side, maybe 101, don't quote me. Is the smallest, where on like a 35R frame turbo, the 101 is the biggest. Right. Okay. So like, yes, you can play with hot sides. It makes a difference. But at the end of the day, you can't fight science, right? Like it's bigger. It takes more to spin it.
Right.
It weighs more. It's bigger circumference. The outside of the tips of the blade spins slower than if you have it this big. Like it's science. I'm not a scientist, but it's science. So what we did with this car is we work with Zonnerotor, which I love Zonnerotor. Greg is the owner because he's absolutely incredible. Same as Tile, the same company.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Mind blown. Wow.
Yeah, Zonnerotor and Tile are the same company.
So all these exotics basically run those turbos, right?
No, we're honestly the only ones running. Well,
really?
T1 runs some.
Because T1,
they run some, but they
run Lounge too. I'm not sure if Jamo runs Zona, but
yes, the newest one. They ran the 80s, which is the newest one that they got them. But I believe that they're the 80s. I mean, they say that they're the 80s. But most of these guys, like like a lot of the T1, most of the T1 cars are the larger turbos, a 40 torr frame turbo.
Right.
So that's the neat thing about this thing, which is why at 6130 is so hard, because it comes out of the hole like you're literally strapped to one of frickin' Elon Musk's rockets. It's insane. I've never felt anything like it in my entire life. It is absolutely insane. But like at 40 miles an hour on brake boost, I can make 35 pounds of boost at 40. That's like 4,000 RPM. You could never do that with a 42R frame. It's like 6,500 you got to be you got to be on the pipe to get the thing to come out.
What?
So the smaller turbos make a big difference, but you got to we worked with Zona. I'll swing back around there.
Is it Zona or Zona? Okay.
Potato.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. So we work with, is it Porsche or Porsche?
I say Porsche. I know it's Porsche.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just easier to say.
Right, Greg. We can text Greg and ask him which one is it. Depends on which country you're in, probably. Yeah. So we worked with them to develop. They worked with us. Is actually the reality of it, to develop a turbo that just absolutely has the broadest range it possibly can. So this is a 70 millimeter turbo that goes 200 1/4. Unheard of, right? Like unheard of.
Wow.
Yeah, it works really, really well, and it comes up really, really hard on the bottom end. So, and it's very predictable. So that's a very unique thing about this car. We're working on bigger turbos right now, still in the 35R frame, which is going to be, I'm very excited about that. That's a new development. I should have them for Florida 2K, which is our goal, to have them for Florida
October.
2K. Yep. So that'll be the next iteration. How big they're going to make them, I don't know. He's working on the designs right now.
Yeah.
So that's something that's unique about the car. Obviously, it's got our engine in it. So we're doing, and we did all the R&D on the engine, all the stuff. We've made them live wonderfully, and we've hurt them. That's just the way that things go, right? Understanding the platform, we've hurt less than we've made live. So. Yeah, that's all that matters. That's all that matters, right? We're on the other side of that ratio.
Yeah.
That's important. So, and that is something that's been a labor of love, and I won't go into details, but they're an all-sill block. How you say that is another question.
They're a what?
All-sill. So they're a sprayed aluminum liner. The block is, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's not like plasma or like Nicosil.
I was going to say, is it like plasma?
It's very different.
Okay.
And again, I'm not a German scientist, so I don't know exactly what that means, but it is a very different material, and it takes a special coating on the piston. It takes a special ring pack in order to make that actually work. And again, you can Google it and dig down a rabbit hole of all-sill. We won't go into that right now. I know enough to be dangerous, so I'm not going to talk about it on a podcast. And then there's the option of sleeving them, and then there's the option of going with a billet block. And the piston rod combination for both the sleeves, the billet block, and the all-sill is something that is very sensitive. It's very important.
Right. And
the more power you make, the more you understand that. And I won't go too deep into that. And then compression ratios are very big on these cars, where they're happy and how much boost you need to make certain compression ratios happy. Because of how efficient the engine is, when you start changing that, it drastically changes the performance of the car. Like drastically. Like we've put pistons in a thing and like put it on the dyno, and I'm like, well, pull that back apart. Like 400 less horsepower, the same boost. 500 less horsepower, the same boost.
So how many pounds of boost are you running on?
So these turbos, we run into a drive pressure to boost pressure ratio. Once again, These cars the motors are so efficient. When you get drive pressure that's too high, they get extremely pissed off.
Okay.
Right. So we ran into a drive pressure to boost pressure ratio that just like it won't go any faster. In fact, it starts going slower drastically. Wow. So like 35 pounds is happy. 37 pounds, it goes 3 mile an hour slower.
This is right now?
Yeah.
And this is even with the cams you have in there, the aftermarket cams.
Yep.
Now, are the cams implemented just because of that issue you were having of power, or
no,
was it just something that you felt like it would help?
No, yeah. I mean, I just felt like it would help. It's gonna make, so like that's balls out, right? Like that's 35 pounds. If you go 2 pounds further, it's slower.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to run it there all the time.
Right.
I mean, I run that there all the time. I'm sorry.
35 pounds?
It never gets turned down. That thing never gets turned down. That's, I mean, why? Once again, we go back to the beginning. It's the whole point of that car is to learn. Yeah. Turning it down doesn't do anything. So, but on a customer's car, you're going to run 32, 33 pounds because you want that thing to go live over and over and over again. Not that this doesn't, but like no matter what, if you're right on the edge of the car not making power, if you turn it up, it's right on the edge of being mad. Right. So you make it live there right on the edge of being mad. And well, I'm not going to say the joke that I was going to say either. It has to do with women that would definitely not be good in the audience. No, but if you make it live there, that's not happy. So you back it off a little bit, make it live in a happier place. So yeah, we turned it down a little bit. So at 32 pounds, if I can pick up 50 wheel with a cam, right, then then it wins, right? That's good, right? So because I don't have to run it absolute maxed out, I get a little extra power with the boost turned down a little bit.
Right.
This
Makes
car,
sense.
did it get any faster at 35 pounds than it did before? I don't know. Maybe not, just because it's a drive pressure limitation thing. I don't know the answer to that. It didn't get faster to 60 to 130. I don't know if it picked up any power on the dyno because we couldn't quantify it.
Right.
But it didn't get faster 60 to 130. It just went the same speed.
What are you guys doing for fuel?
It's just E85. It's 1 ethanol R.
And 2 fuel pumps? What's the...
Yeah, so we have a fuel pump system that we worked on with Hefner, and he builds for us, and it is a brushless pump that combines with the factory pump, and it runs all of the secondary injectors while the factory pump runs the factory injectors.
Pretty standard.
Yep, and it works really well. Yep.
And then injectors.
ID. Yep.
ID. So you guys run dual injectors for these?
They come factory twin injector. They come factory 20 injector. So this is a DI delete car. So at 1800 and up, we delete the DI.
Oh, okay.
So then we do a lower intake manifold with port injectors, and you delete the DI with the 2000, 1800, 2000 and up. We have never had a DI injector failure, but I'm really close with Tony from T1. I mean, we're not like best friends, but I talk to him probably once a week.
Yeah.
And he has. So again, sharing information. He's like, this is where I've had this issue. You know, you can make a decision whether you want to change him or not. And we decided to not have the same issue that he had because he was willing to share that information with me. So, yeah, we haven't had it, but we anything over 2000, we delete the DI.
So what is your like base fuel pressure at usually?
Like 60, 65 pounds 65. Probably. Yep. Like, that's the low pressure, the low side fuel pressure, not the high side.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Side,
so like if you delete the DI, then that's all of them.
Right.
But if you have the DI, then you take the high pressure pump out, or you leave the high pressure pump in, and then it's like whatever that is, like an insane like 2300 PSI. Right.
So with this car, are you expecting to beat the record, or are you just going to let it live where it's at?
You mean beat myself?
Yeah. I mean,
see, I'm talking crap.
No, I'm just saying because that's, who knows when the next run's going to be. Who knows?
Sure,
when 60,
sure.
60,
so this car will go faster. Okay, so I'll just lay it out there. I went 237 in good DA. I think it was probably
237. That's crazy.
On the street, 237.
Yeah, you by yourself, right?
Yeah.
Have you been in the passenger?
No.
Okay. You should probably get in the passenger.
It is. I'm telling you, I've never experienced anything like what this car does. And I've driven my GTR was technically a little bit faster on the track, but because my GTR made 2700, but this car, there's nothing like it. It's insane. Anyway, so in 237 and I think it was you can look up the draggy. It was maybe 700 DA, 600 DA.
Yeah.
Nice air in Florida. No, in Mexico. And then about 2 weeks ago, I took it out just for fun, and it was this horrible. You felt like you were walking through butter. And it went 238.
What?
Yeah, I'm talking from again, don't quote me because I could pull the draggy up on my phone. From 700 DA to 2700 DA, and it went 100th slower. The differences in the car since then, the first run was with the older 72 millimeter turbos on it. We picked up power with the 70s for sure. It was also with a 3.5 inch exhaust. We went 4-inch exhaust. We pick up power with the 4-inch exhaust. So when the weather gets better, even with these turbos, it is going to go faster. But by the time the weather gets better, I'll have the other turbos, which should, I would like to go in the twos, a 225, 227. But I mean, again, I got to be careful here. I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable for me because I'm stupid and I'm addicted and I like to make the car fast. Yeah. And plus the feeling you have in the car when it happens is like, right. It's better than, well, the girlfriend's here. So, so no, it is. It's incredible. It is going to go faster, but it went 237 handicapped with turbos and an exhaust, which I'm not making drag racer excuses. I opened the thing up, didn't get back out. Too much stuff going on. Went back out in the heat and went 238.
That's insane. 238 on the street. Yeah, here it is.
237 on the street.
Oh, 237. Sorry.
The slowest it's ever been, and this was turned down to like 30 pounds, was 260.
260
on the street.
Is crazy.
That's the slowest I've ever been in the car running it. And that was just turned down to try to make sure that the thing would hook, and was the slowest I've ever been. Ever been by myself. Yeah. I took an employee out that wanted to ride. We were just testing something during a race sometime or whatever. And I was just, I literally didn't have the phone up. I just had it in the center console, but had the draggy. I'm like, oh, I'll open the draggy up, whatever. And we went 268 on 28 pounds with a customer or with an employee, 268. The car just, it's nuts. It's so consistent.
Got to see that GoPro footage.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I got to give that up. I mean, Taylor is a magician when it comes to that. He really does a good job. Him and I work together a lot when it comes to tire strategy and tuning or whatever. Yeah. But he is really the man behind the keys. Like the cars wouldn't do what they do without him. Wow. And it's a huge testament to him, because there is definitely separation from the men from the boys when it comes to tuning. Yeah. It's just like, oh, throw all the power at it, right. Let's just make power. It's just like the difference between like efficiently laying power to the ground and making a car fast and like tuning it for a straight line on a track where you can't spin the tire if you tried, and so on and so forth. Like there's a huge difference there. Another thing that sets us apart big time, because the kid is, I'm sorry, Taylor, you're not a kid. I don't even know how old Taylor is. He's 38 or 39. But he's he's like maybe he's 37. Again,
I mean that. I mean damn.
He's a magician. So it's really cool. I just hold my foot to the floor, and it's a lot of fun.
So I want to talk about some CX2K stuff. Now this is where it might get a little controversial, but this is the topic that I want to know about, because I'm curious myself.
Okay. Don't be gentle, man.
You have a nickname.
I do.
Your shop has a nickname.
I do. We do.
Do you know what the nickname is?
No.
Oh, okay. So they call your shop, or they call you, the Slingshot King.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for racing.
Okay.
Now, can you explain, just so I guess the audience has a better understanding of how road racing works when you guys go down the strip?
Yeah. I'll first start here. First of all, I'm not that guy. Maybe you can't tell by talking to me or listening to me on here, and maybe you think I'm fake. But I don't want to win a race by not winning a race. Like, I have zero desire. It does nothing for me. I don't go home and lay my head on the pillow by starting on 2, right, and winning a race. Not that I don't really street race. I haven't started on anything in a long time. But like, I don't play those games, right? I am very against those games. And maybe somebody like, oh, ha, 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 yeah, whatever. Like, that's just not me. I want a fair race. And anybody that is worth their salt that lines up next to me that you talk to will tell you Cicio will give you a fair race every single time. I can promise you. You go talk to any established individual in the industry that has raced next to me, they will tell you. If he doesn't give you a fair race, he will tell you, I screwed that up. Let's do that again. Call it back, whatever. Why? It's not who I am. I don't care if I win. I really, really, really don't. Is there a cool thing about winning? Absolutely. Is it cool enough to cheat? Hell no. Absolutely not. It does nothing for my ego. Nothing. In fact, it deflates it. Like, you're a piece of shit. Like, why would you do that? So I'll start by saying that ain't me. I don't do that. Okay.
Is that considered cheating?
I believe that most people that slingshot do it purposefully. And in my opinion, that is cheating. Why? Because it's not the spirit of the sport, as you say, right? Like you're not lining your car up to find out which car is faster.
Right.
That's the goal, right? Like the goal is which car is faster.
Right.
Like that's the whole goal of street racing. It's not who can hit the gas a little bit earlier than the guy next to you. You're street racing your car or roll racing your car to find out if your car is faster than the guys next to you. You're not trying to figure out whether you can get away with hitting the gas before you're supposed to. So yes, it's cheating in my opinion.
Okay.
Like maybe that's an aggressive term for it, but it's not sportsmanlike, right? There's no class in it. So I hate people that do that. And I absolutely do. I hate that action. I absolutely, and if you're in my pits, you're hanging out with me, if I'm seeing it, I'm like, why is that guy doing that? Like, just gives the guy, even if I'm not the person racing or if I'm not even in the race.
Yeah.
Dude, I was sitting, once I won, and I was sitting there and I was watching the races go by. I'm like, this guy, why is this happening? Like, these guys are just playing games. They won't, like, just line up next to each other and figure out which car is faster.
Yeah.
Like, so, okay, that's the basis. Also, that's the foundation. I can't stand that. So, I think it's hilarious that somebody's actually pinned me as that. But, you know, as my father used to say, the higher you are, the easier it is to shoot at you.
Right.
So, I raced one of my customers' R8s in the class down after I broke out in this car. I went round after round after round. Every single guy that was in the rounds with me was either a friend or somebody I respected, and they respected me, and everything was good. The best races, and every single person will tell you this, those were the best races of the entire event when it comes to roll racing. Mm-hmm. Everyone was lined up right next to each other. Everyone, we took the hit the same time. Every single one. And in fact, the finals, when I went against Joe at AIM, who's a good friend of mine, right? Like, he told me what he turned it up to. I told him my 100 to 150. He told me that we exchanged all the information, and like, we took the hit the exact same time, and he broke out. And I would sit there and watched him break out, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to lift.
Can you explain what breakout means?
Sure, absolutely.
For those, just very basic.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know I'm long-winded.
No. I just, because some people may not know that. I mean, it's
so in every class except for the top class, you're only allowed to go 5 miles an hour. Well, it depends on the event, but 5 miles an hour faster than the fastest qualifier.
Right.
If you go 5 miles an hour fast, that means you were sandbagging. Right. So like a lot of guys, what they'll do is they'll sandbag and they just lift at the end.
Right.
Right.
Which means you have more room.
Right, so you just take the you take the hit on the guy, you get here,
and
right,
and then
let off 20 feet before that you just let off, and the guy doesn't come around you because the guy who won is the guy who passed the finish line first, cross the finish line first, right? So you could cross the finish line at 100, and the guy next to you crosses at 200, and you still won if you got there first,
right?
So breaking out is going 5 miles an hour. Again, this is Texas 2K terms, faster than the fastest qualifier. Now the elite. The top class, the Elite 8, there is no breakout. It's just as fast as you can go.
It's just as fast as you can go. Right.
Fast as you go. There's no game playing in that one. It's just full gusto. So, and I don't know. Do you know which race it is that coined me? That I got the crown of the slingshotter?
So it was rumored that like while you were.
When did this thing get bestowed upon my head? This king of the slingshot.
It's been okay. So I don't want to look. I'm not going to say anything about, I don't get in. I'm just saying this has been a thing that I've heard.
No, it's good. I like it. Right? It's fun.
So it's just been said that you can't pull a certain amount of G's when you're brake boosting.
So that's where people are very confused. So like in qualifying, right, you go in a certain area, right? Because qualifying, obviously the mile an hour is what puts you in the ladder.
Right.
So if I start here and you start here, I've got more ramp. Like I've got more room to go. So I'm covering more ground, which means I've got more time to make up to lay down a speed, and I'm going to go faster. Yeah. It's like how fast can you go in the quarter mile versus the half mile versus the mile, right?
Right.
So if you got more ground that you can cover, you're going to go faster. So in qualifying, everybody is supposed to start at the same point. Now that doesn't even happen, but whatever. We're not even going to go there. But everybody is supposed to start at the same point. And if you don't start at that point, they're supposed to say that didn't count. You didn't start at that point, and going the same or a similar speed, right? So you have to be under X amount of speed and at this point. That
usually what's the 65. Speed? 65, yeah.
Yep, right. And that puts you in the ladder. Okay, so this is where you go. Doesn't matter the car next to you. Doesn't matter what's going on. Doesn't matter anything. You go for between this cone and this cone, and you're under 65 miles an hour, and that counts as a qualifying, or it doesn't. Okay, so that's qualifying.
Okay.
Then you go to racing. All that goes out the window. Racing As long as you are next to the guy and the light turns green, you're go.
That's how it should be.
Right.
Okay.
100% how it should be, right? But that is the rule, right? Like, you're next to the guy, the light turns green, you go.
Right.
No matter what. So, like, it doesn't matter whether you're right at the light, like you can barely see it and it's right here and you're looking at it, because that happens.
Yeah.
Because it takes time for people to get lined up, right? And you're like, crap, is this going to happen? Is he going to throw it green? Is he going to throw it green? And the light's getting closer and closer and closer and closer. And sometimes, I mean, I've had it happen to where, like, I saw it out of the corner of my eye that it turned green. Or if you're at the very beginning of the run-up. Because if you're at the very beginning of the run-up and you're right next to each other, that guy's going to hit the button.
Yeah.
And throw the light green. Why? Because he doesn't know if then games are going to happen. Right? And this is where the slingshot comes in.
Yeah.
Right? The slingshot comes in where the left lane sets the pace. The right lane is supposed to pace that guy. Mm-hmm. So what the slingshot is...
I was going to say, what can you explain?
Yes. So the slingshot is, it doesn't matter what speed you're going.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe the guy, on a couple of my races, the guy was like, hey, listen, man, I'm really good at 50. And I'm like, 65 is the top of my gear. Can we go at 50? I'm like, sure. Great. No problem. Or I'm really good at 80. I've raced a motorcycle before. He's like, bro, like, I've got to go at 80. If I go, I have to get to be in third. Because if I got to go in second at 60, the front end will come up. And I'm like, well, I don't want that. I mean, that's not... you're going to freaking flip over backwards. Like, no problem. Let's go at 80.
Right.
Again, and you can think I'm BSing you if you want. I like fair racing. So I'll give the guy whatever he wants, as long as it doesn't put me at a huge deficiency, right? Like, if I'm going to be in the next gear and I can't even build boost, I'm just going to tell the guy, that this doesn't work for me. Can we come up with a compromise? And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Anyway, slingshot. Guy in the left lane sets pace. Guy in the right lane purposefully hits the gas prior to the light turning green, in hopes that when he's next to said guy, he already has momentum, and the guy triggering the light goes, oh, they're next to each other. Green. This guy, already full throttle, already on the pipe. This guy over here, unbeknownst to him, this guy is slingshotting by him. He sees the green light, he hits the gas. By the time he hits the gas, that guy's 3 cars in front of him because he hit the gas before the light turned green.
Yeah.
Before the light turned green. It's all about the light. If you hit the gas when the light turns green in the right lane, it is impossible to be a slingshotter. If you're in the right lane and you're pacing the guy next to you and the light turns green, and that is when you hit the gas, that deletes the possibility that you are then a slingshotter, because you have to hit the gas before the light turns green to be a slingshotter. If you don't, you're not a slingshotter. You're just on the frickin' light.
Yeah.
Right? So if the guy in the other lane doesn't hit the gas when the light turns green, and you hit it right when the light turns green, and you jump, and the guy goes, he slungshot me. No, I just hit the gas and the light turned green. Maybe try that next time.
Well,
whoa,
we
that
are
was
in
big.
Florida. What is going on?
So let's just say the guy in the left lane sets the pace, and he wants to go 100, and the guy in the right lane doesn't want to go 100. Well, he just stays back, and the light never turns green. Which is a whole nother game, by the way.
Oh, man. There's a lot of games with this, huh?
Shoot.
Anyway, I think this is why people don't like roll racing.
Yeah, well, yeah, and why guys like me get coined something that's ridiculous. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, what run there was that I think there was probably in that car that somebody was saying that I did that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the video, the guy threw the light.
There was a draggy for it as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was the guy threw the light right at the beginning of the cones. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest. I knew the light was going to turn green because we were right next to it. It was a beautiful start. And props to the guy next to me. I can't remember exactly who it was. I think it was a GTR. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whoever was next to me. But like, props to that guy because it was a wonderful start. We were right next to each other and we were lined up and ready to roll. And I'm like, as soon as we get to the cones, this guy's throwing the green light because this is a beautiful start. Yeah. This guy is right there. I'm right here. This is great. Again, props to that guy. That was a fair race, right? So I'm like, as soon as we get to these cones, this light's going green. And I know it is. And I'm a good racer. Like I've been doing this a long freaking time, you know, and I'm good at this. So I'm like, as we get to these cones, this light's turning green. I'm going to be on this shit, right? Like I'm ready. And so we hit the cones and I'm on brake boost and I'm on it hard and I'm starting to let it creep just a little bit because that's the game, right? Like, I mean, maybe he's letting it creep a little bit. Like I'm not in front of him. I'm not like taking off. I'm just like, we're about to go here. And I know. And right when we hit that first cone, that light went green and I dropped the brake. Maybe I dropped the brake 1 millisecond before the light went green. Maybe. Like it was so close. I watched the draggy very closely. I'm like, sorry, not really, but like it was on. I was on it, right? Like if I dropped the brake, maybe 100th of a second before the light turned green, it would have been a lot. But
not enough to be a slingshot.
But I didn't slingshot the guy.
Right.
I just knew we were lined up. I know roll racing. I've been to more of these events than half of these people in the pits combined. Right? I've been doing this for long time.
Yeah.
And been to every race in the United States for 15 years. And I just know how it works. So I'm like, we're lined up. Everything's beautiful. I know the guy on the button because I've been coming to this freaking race for 13 years, right? I know who he is. I know that he's going to hit it when we're lined up. So I'm like, I'm just ready. And so I hit it. And again, you can go watch the video. Pull it. I've watched it a lot. Maybe it's 100th of a second before the light turned green, but it wasn't a slingshot. Slingshots are if you watch, should I?
I don't think honestly, to be honest with you, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, to me, it's not like
if you watch the video of Billy's car, and the yellow Lamborghini,
which is, I see that still getting reshared,
right?
All the time,
the yellow Lamborghini, and no offense to the guy, I don't even know who was driving the yellow Lamborghini, and I'm not saying throwing anybody. Maybe whatever. Maybe he thought he saw some amber in the light. I don't know, but you can see this guy was back here. And he went by while the light is not green.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Terrence and Billy's car, just, walked him. And that was insane. That was insane. Somebody said to me something the other day, would you beat that car on the street? I'm like, absolutely wouldn't even stand a chance.
What did it do? A 1.9?
I don't know.
Or no, was it a 1.9?
Something that defies logic.
1.9, 60 to 130 or something.
I was bummed that it broke.
Maybe 1.7.
I was bummed that it broke this year. That was a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happens to the best of us. So anyway, I don't know how I got coined that. I don't really like it. It's probably going to make me lose a little bit of sleep tonight because I don't like that at all because I am a fair racer. But if that was the specific race that they're talking about, I just dropped the brake right at the right time. And the funniest part about the whole thing is I had full plan of breaking out in that run. Because I didn't want to be in that class.
So you didn't care?
I didn't care.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was racing a GTR from Atlanta. Sorry, it just came back to me.
The one.
In that deal. But I had full plans. We had just gotten some stuff figured out on the car. I knew it was going to go faster. I didn't know it was going to go as fast as it went. It went 217 that pass. But I was like, there's a very good chance I'm going to break out this pass. But I would rather break out, send a little bit of a message that maybe I'm not supposed to be in this class. Maybe I should be up there. Not supposed to because no drag racer excuses.
Yeah.
But I knew. So the whole funny part about that was if I slungshot the guy, and that was my whole goal, was to put him out of the race and win and go to the next round, why wouldn't I have just lifted when he was 4 bus lengths behind me? I didn't because I didn't care because I wanted to just send it. That's what I wanted.
That makes sense too. Yeah.
So there was no advantage. There was no advantage
you didn't
to
really
me.
Care, yeah.
I knew for a fact that I was probably at a 50-50 chance of breaking out.
Yeah.
Didn't really matter to me. Or they were going to run it back. Fine, whatever, because the guy didn't really, I think he had a Motec cut or whatever. But anyway, so in my brain, I went up there rolling. I knew what we had just fixed on the car. I knew the tune I had in it. I knew it was going to go 212 to 220. And I'm like, I don't care. My tuner's like, you need to lift. I'm like, I'm not lifting. I don't care about going rounds trying to beat people in this class. I want to win the Elite 8. If I'm going to be in it something, I want to be in the Elite 8. I'm not here to kick puppies. Right. Not that they're puppy.
No, I get you. I get what you mean.
Right. So anyway.
I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Because a lot of people
I am pretty tired.
A lot of people
and I sleep really good in thunderstorms.
A lot of people talk a lot of internet stuff. Yeah. And especially on forums and stuff too. So
I've been slingshotted against a lot, and I've watched it happen a lot, and I've watched fights happen over it a lot, and I hate it. Because it just like we started at the beginning of the podcast, it tears the industry apart.
Yeah.
You're at each other's throats over what? Over what? Just line up next to the guy and whose car's faster. Shut the hell up.
That's why I said I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I can't speak for people who are racing because it's probably something
some people take it very
way
seriously.
more serious to them, especially with these builds and how much money they have in their cars. And
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you cleared that up because
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a couple of shorts that are going to come out here and put a clown on my face or something. Probably.
No. I mean, so
but Texas was fun. It was a good time.
This year?
Yeah. Yeah. We always, trackside support is a big deal for us because, again, it goes back to having the customer enjoy their car, right?
Yeah.
And how much more enjoyable is it when you have a tuner next to you, you have a mechanic next to you. We love supporting them at the track. I always take 2 or 3 technicians, the tuner, so the guy we get back, we check everything, we check the lugs, we make sure that we pull the log on every single run. Texas is a lot of fun for that. And so it's really nice being next to Bradenton Motorsports Park down here so that we can go do that at little events and at Florida 2K and all those. That's really fun. It's really fun. And then I got to give some props out to Victor. He's done a great job of that track, and hopefully all fight. That's another thing that's coming after us, trying to take down our racetracks. I know. So there's a conspiracy theory.
What's the conspiracy theory?
Well, because like you think about it, man, and I won't go. I'll do this really quick. But
I'm curious. I want to hear this.
Were you in Texas year before last?
No, it was my first year actually this year.
Oh, this was the first year. Okay. Did you know where that racetrack was? No.
Houston, right?
Yeah. Okay, in the middle of nowhere. And I mean in the middle of nowhere. Like if you threw a rock, you would hit a field, and if you stepped in that field and looked, you couldn't see anything for as far as the eye could see. It's Texas.
Yeah.
There's land
huge.
everywhere, right? And there's a beautiful highway that runs right by the racetrack into nowhere's land south of Baytown, right? That's just like field after field after field after field right off of a highway, right?
Wow.
So why in the world did some major conglomerate like Walmart or Amazon decide to buy an existing business that was making money and knock it down so that they could put up some type of like distribution facility in the area on that land? Why? Why would you not just go buy the 5,000 acres that's across the street?
Yeah.
Why would you pay the extra money to shut down a company and then pay the extra money to demo all of the stuff around it? Why would you do that? Would there maybe be some incentives for you if you did that? Possibly. That's where we'll stop it. you guys can run with that as long as you want. But if you think about it, where are these racetracks, right? Commerce in Georgia, right? That one in Houston, and you start looking at the land around them, and then you start looking at the people that bought them and why they bought a facility they had to demolish and pay extra money to shut down a company in order to do that. And you start looking at them around the country. Why would Amazon or Walmart or Target or whoever's buying these places, why would they buy that instead of just go right across the street and pay pennies on the dollar? Anyway, I don't know.
I gotta add some spooky like sound.
Yeah, exactly. Can you make like something float over my? Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I don't know. I don't understand why that would happen. Okay.
So I didn't ask the question before, but out of my curiosity, I wanted to know if there is any big differences between the R8 and the Huracan.
Not really. Suspension.
Yeah.
Like people will talk about how like the STO is like going to be the ultimate street car because the suspension on the STO is for a road race car. It's horrible.
Okay.
So the suspension is different. Some of the brakes, like the STO brakes, is a little different. The Performante, the Evo, and the STO have different cams than the R8 and the standard Huracan.
Okay.
They also have different valves. They have titanium intake valves and oversized exhaust valves. And different valve springs. So the valve train, we'll call it, is basically all different. The bottom ends are all the same, as far as in my knowledge. To my knowledge, transmissions are exactly the same. The non-plus R8, the standard R8, is a different transmission, but plus R8 and Huracan are the same, and all the versions of the Huracan. So from my understanding, the motors that we've done so far, I think we've probably done about 25 V10 motors. We got a couple of customers overseas in Dubai at the machine shop. We have 4 billet blocks right now. I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty proud of the machine shop. We didn't talk about it a lot, but it's like my vacation. I go down there, like I love figuring stuff out. I love details. I love understanding, and I'm really proud of the machine shop. I'm really proud of my guys down there, and I'm really proud of the machine shop as a whole, because it's some next level difficulty. It's very difficult, especially when at this level, when it comes to like building these cars. The understanding is kind of crazy. I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of that being under our roof, and again, proud of my guys. So
you should be.
But yeah, so. As far as my understanding, they're extremely similar. As far as I know, and we could Google this and find out, I think that the R8 has a lower coefficient of drag, which you would never think. Really? It's slipperier. I mean, that thing looks like a knife, and that thing doesn't. But that one's slipperier.
Can you explain that?
Sure. I mean, it's just very simply like the GTR has a horrible coefficient of drag because
this is basically like aerodynamic.
Yep. Yeah. It's all aero.
Right.
So like you're going through the air. How much power does it take to push you through the air? What speed? And the faster you go, the worse it gets.
Right.
So, and it's a very interesting, I'm not going to dig into this too, but like the higher the elevation is, I'm a private pilot. I've got to do, I fly planes a little bit as well. Yeah. So altitude and elevation stuff makes sense to me, but like, that's why like everybody's like, oh, Colorado, you're going to be really slow at like the half miles in Colorado because of elevation. Right. But the thing is the air's thinner. So if you've got big enough turbos to make up for the thin air, you're actually going to go faster because the car's going to be slipperier because the air's thinner. So it's interesting, but that's what it is. The thicker the air and the higher the coefficient of drag, the harder it is to push the car through the air.
I've always wondered why especially with Billy's car, it's just flat with velocity stacks in the front. Yeah. But I always thought if you have a sharper like front or aero car, that you cut through the air easier and it makes your car faster.
Yeah, aerodynamics is a crazy thing. So we got into that way back in the day, like 2008, 2009. We did road racing with Porsches at the very beginning with Lee Keen. He was racing. We did One Lap of America. If you guys, probably none of your people know about that, but if you Google, it's a really cool event. You drive from racetrack to racetrack and run the racetrack and then drive to the next one. It's really cool. Boom. So that's where I learned about aero, wings, canards, how that all worked. It's very interesting. I'll give you a little tidbit and then you'll want to go read about this. But like a wing, a lot of people think like a wing on a car, like the steeper you make it, because the wing is pushing against the air and it pushes the back of the car down, that's why that it creates downforce. It's not. It's the opposite. So like, if you look at the bottom of a wing is shaped like this, right? It's just like an airplane wing, only it's upside down. It makes the air underneath the wing faster and it creates a low pressure and it sucks the car to the ground. The air pushing on the top of the wing doesn't create the downforce. I'm not a aerodynamicist, and if there's people out there that are, you're going to Google or make me wrong, or put something in the comments. There's a possibility I'm a little bit wrong in that, but like, just like an airplane, that's how an airplane creates lift. It's the same exact way. It's not just because air is pushing up on the wings. It's because one side of the air is going faster and the other side of the air is going slower. It creates a high pressure and a low pressure, and there you go. Take off.
It's crazy how all these things have been figured out years ago, but I think that there's so much more to learn when it comes to cars, because there's other industries that you can use, and kind of bring that into what we do here with these cars.
What's crazy is the amount of stuff that actually goes into it that the people don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
Like the client, whatever, like the amount of R&D, the amount of little stuff that we do to make these cars just a little extra fast that nobody really sees or knows. And then somebody's like, oh, well, you should try this. Well, I tried that 16 ways from Sunday already. Yeah. Right. Like, and that is neat. That's neat to see that. I mean, even like the mirrors do crazy stuff as well. It's very interesting. People are like, oh, I'm going to fold the mirrors in. Oh, well, that actually makes it worse. What do you think that guy, the guy that got paid millions of dollars with a wind tunnel that cost millions of dollars, that sat there forever, didn't think about the fact that like to make those things efficient? It's like Formula One. The mirrors are literally wings. They create downforce. I love Formula One, by the way. There's a race this weekend. Anyway, next time you're hanging out with somebody and they're talking about draggies, ask them, say, so what's the car length difference from a 10th? Like, so if I go 3.0 and you go 3.1, right? Like, what does that mean if we were next to each other? Does that mean I'm a car from you? Does it mean I'm a half a car from you? Does it mean I'm 5 cars from you? What does that mean? Nobody knows. Right? Like, I'm not saying nobody knows. Yeah. I know.
Right.
But like, nobody thinks about that.
Right.
Nobody actually thinks about what's happening there. Like if I go faster 60 to 130 by 0.3 and you go faster 100 to 150 by 1/10, where are our cars at the end of it? right? Like nobody's really putting that together. I'll tell you, the car that goes 60 to 130, 3/10 faster is so far ahead you could barely see his taillights. Because that guy's not anywhere near coming around you. But nobody quantifies that. They don't think about, they just think this is faster, this is slower, this is faster. They don't think, okay, if I'm a 10th here, then I'm probably a door length or a car.
Right.
They're not comparing real world to not fake world, right? But they're not comparing reality to digital, which I think is super interesting. I would think that would be more interesting. So like, I want to know, which I do this all the time. Like if I'm racing one of my customers and I'm like, what's your draggy? What's my draggy? Okay, cool. That means that 100th is a door. Cool. That's neat. Why? It's real world. right? Like it's where the rubber meets the road. That's neat. But I don't understand why nobody's doing that. Like, it's like, oh, that means I would be 3 cars in front of you at this point. Well, that would be cool. It comes back to screw all that stuff, man. Let's just make the industry better.
Yeah.
Right. Like that stuff is people that are focusing on that stuff too heavily are making the industry worse. And we're just we're destroying it from the inside. And I don't want to continue to go around about that, but it's kind of the point that I'd like to bring home because it's what I'm most passionate about. I'm not saying I'm not passionate about this car. I'm saying I'm not passionate about engines, tuning, making things fast, but like or the business side of things or the people in my business, as I'm incredibly passionate about all of it. But the industry as a whole has got to be there for any of it to happen. Right. Like none of these people have a job. Right? Like this isn't going to exist. The building's not going to be here. The car's not going to be here. The people aren't going to be here. Nothing's going to be here if the industry doesn't thrive. Yeah. Right. And so we got to be careful with all that stuff because the hate and the slingshot king and the this and the that and the draggy and the, like that's all fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, you got to truly understand that we're making the experience for the end user worse, and you're not focusing on making the experience for the end user better. And that's what you should be focusing on. You should take all the time that you spend talking stuff online and go work on making your client happier or your business better, right? Or take 90% of the time that you spend talking online and go invest in the industry and your business and your customer and your customer's experience, because that's what's going to grow our business. That's what's going to grow all of our businesses and the industry as a whole, and sustain us through what is coming at us, because it is coming at us. It's
only a matter of time.
It really is.
You said 10 to 20
I
years?
said 20, 30, 40, but I have no idea.
I said 10. I don't know.
I am taking the gamble. I took the gamble when I was 40 that it's going to sustain through my lifetime. But I really hope that I would really love it to sustain through the next generation of people that I hope run this business after I'm retired or gone. I hope it goes through their lifetime as well. But I fear that it's not going to if we stay on the path that we're on. And I would like to, if I added anything to this industry, I would like to veer that path back to a team, like a unit, link arms. Let's go at all the stuff that's coming at us together and figure it out together. And I think it would make everything better.
Well said. So a friend of mine, Calvin, shout out to Calvin. He was a guest on the podcast too, a vinyl rapper. He had one of your cars there. It wasn't your car. It was a customer's car, I think, that you had there. Okay. Beautiful car, twin turbo C8 Corvette, right? I didn't expect to see that car there, but I fell in love with it. And I'm not really a Corvette guy, but that car was beautiful. So can you talk about how deeply involved you are with that platform, since you already are building those cars and have twin turbo C8s? Sure,
absolutely. I mean, the C8 kind of lined up for a couple of reasons. Number one, I mean, obviously when you look around, like we do a lot, mostly dual clutch cars that either are already turboed or respond to turbos, right? So we do Porsches, like dual clutch turbo. DCT, yeah. Right. GTRs, getting into the RS3 market now. Nice. I'm going to get yelled at for not talking about that earlier, but that's okay. We are getting the RS3 market. We're getting the RS3 market. And then these cars, obviously DCT. So anyway, so it lined up. I was like, okay, like it's a mid-engine car. You can throw turbos on the back of it really easy. It's DCT. We have a lot of relationships in the industry that line up with it. So I was like, okay, this is going to work. We'll do this. And it has. It's a great platform. The car is very capable for the money. They make power really easily. They sound great.
I heard one, man.
Well, the turbo cars with an X-pipe exhaust sound really good. With this individual exhaust, I feel like they sound a little bit more like trucky, Tahoe-y. With an X-pipe exhaust where it would merge out of the turbos, they sound really good. And then a cammed turbo car with an X-pipe exhaust, which is my car, I've got a C8 as well, sounds really good. So that's cool. You get a little bit of American muscle with it. The issue with the car, so it took forever for the ECU to get cracked. HP tuners cracked the ECU like whatever it was, maybe a year ago, 6 months ago. Don't quote me on that at time. And so that took a while, right? They came out in 2020. So we just waited and waited and waited. And it was like, get around this, piggyback that, trick this sensor, trick that sensor. It was horrible. Not horrible, but it was a labor of love.
Yeah.
But I stuck with it because I knew that if the ECU and the TCU got cracked, that the market would be big. I would say we're probably the number one twin turbo C8 company in the country. I mean, we definitely are. Not necessarily the fastest, but we've done more of them than anybody else. So we've pushed hard into that market. They've cracked the ECU. That's been awesome. The issue now is the TCU. And that's what's holding us back. That's what's holding the car back from being fast. And let's get real, right? Just like these cars, if you're going to modify a car, you go out and you look how fast it is to buy it, right? Like you're going to go, okay, what can I do to it to get X, right? Like I'm going to put this in it and I want this. Well, the C8 is not a fast car. And the reason the C8 is not a fast car is because, it's quick, but it's not fast, is because the gear ratios are horrible and we can't get the clutches to hold. And the reason we can't get the clutches to hold is because we can't get into the TCU and manipulate clutch pressures. So you put a big clutch in the thing and it holds. It does better than, but like you're at a place where you're sacrificing drivability for a clamp because you have no way to manipulate the clutch pressures.
Right.
And so you can make a car hold the clutch and drive like complete dog crap. Or you can make the car drive like somebody would want to actually drive the thing, and it doesn't hold the clutch wonderfully. It does, they'll hold 1,000 wheel or whatever. But but I mean, my car makes 1,300 horsepower, like not even trying. But like I take it on the street and try to run through the gears, and it just slips the clutch because I can't manipulate the clutch pressures.
Are torque numbers more important with the transmission, with the clutches?
Yeah. I mean, they make a lot of torque, right? Like 900,000 foot-pounds of torque. I mean, they are. The torque numbers are definitely
right. So you're at that limit already, obviously, because your clutch is slipping, but you're at 1,000 pretty much.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Depends on the clutch, right? There's a few different levels of clutch and a couple different companies. Dodson's obviously the leader in it right now because they're the biggest in that. So I say that to say, like, that car, once they crack the TCU, it's gonna be a game changer. Two reasons. One, you're gonna be able to change the rev limiter to whatever you want, because right now you can't do that. There's a torque limit that comes from the TCU that tries to shut the throttle. There's a few little different ways to get around it a little bit, but just like 6,800 RPM, and the thing really needs to spin like 7,800. You need to be able to put springs in it and actually spin, and then it'll overcome the gear ratio issue. And then you'll also be able to manipulate clutch pressures, which will make the car actually come into the next gear. Like right now, if you look at a clutch pressure line, it goes up and you shift, and it does this little dog leg because it's trying to make the car shift smoothly. Yeah. So it like wants to bring the power in like this, instead of like that, and we have no way to manipulate that. Well, once that comes in and tries to shift smooth, it starts slipping the clutch. And then once you start slipping the clutch, you're just going to blow through it. So the car is awesome. It's great fun to drive. They make a lot of power. I really enjoy mine. We need all of the ECU, TCU cracked, which will happen. HP Tuners is working on it. When that happens, that car it'll totally change the market. Totally change the market of that car because it'll actually get fast. And then all the guys that, the RS3, the TTRS, that's why those things are popular, right? Because they're fast. Right? Yeah. Like they're fast cars. That's why these are popular. They're fast, right? Like those cars, like the 60 to 130 for the horsepower is comical because you just can't get the thing to come through the gears and actually do what it's supposed to do. And you can't rev it out. And then the shift splits are ridiculous. Amazing car. I own one. I drive it all the time. I really like it, but we need a little bit more authority to make the car actually fast and do what it should do. And then once that happens, then it's going to be a joy to build them because it goes back to the customer experience, because the customer is then going to be like, yeah, my car makes this and it runs this. And those two things are going to align, rather than right now it's like, oh, I make 1100 horsepower and I run 980s. Well, that doesn't make any freaking sense.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what's happening right now, just because we can't manipulate those key features.
So 2020, I have a 2020 Supra, and it was kind of like the same thing. They have XHP, which you can increase the clamping pressure for the transmission, pretty much, or the clutches.
Sure.
So they have tuning for the trans, which is obviously the reason why that car is doing so well, and it's running 7s.
Sure.
In the quarter mile. Now, when do you think that this will change for the Corvette? Like, how long do you think it's going to take?
I email the guys at HP Tuners about once a month, and I say, how you guys doing? And they say it's in process. We have a car here, it's in process. So HP Tuners is the type of company, they do it right, and they do it once. And when they release it, it's not going to be a shit show, right? Yeah. And that's awesome. But that also means they probably have stuff that would completely change the entire industry already, but they won't release it because it's just not ready in their
right.
Which is, I've got all the respect for in the world. But they won't give me a time frame. It's coming though.
Yeah.
So and it will. You'll start seeing them. Like right now, you go to a drag strip. How many C8s do you see? None, because they're slow.
Right.
Right. I mean, no offense to any C8 guys, they're just slow. They're not gonna be. And once that happens, you're gonna start seeing, and then the wheel market's gonna pick up for them, and then the whole market's gonna pick up once that happens. But I mean, the nice thing is I get the business got in on the ground level. So once that happens, it's just the floodgates are just gonna open. I'm probably gonna have to start another shop. Because there's so many of them. Oh my gosh.
So what are those going for?
How much?
Yeah.
I think you can buy a used one like 70, 80 grand.
That's a good area to be in, because the BMW stuff literally took off once that was all figured out, and now everybody has not even Supras, they just have B58s in general. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work out.
I thought about doing that industry. I don't know. You think I should do that? The BMW industry stuff? Like we started, it was like RS3. It was RS3 or BMW stuff, and we decided that the RS3 lined up with the R8, packaged a little bit more. Yeah. Because we know the engine. It's basically half of a V10.
Right, half of a V10.
Right. Yeah. And we have a really good relationship with Hank. I have a really good relationship with Hank at iROS. Like a really good relationship. So we decided to do that instead of the BMW stuff.
Yeah.
Think I made a mistake?
My honest opinion?
No, please lie to me.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll lie to you.
No, please don't.
Go for it. I think that BMW thing is super popular. However, I think if you were involved in it, I think with the way you build your cars, I think it'd be pretty cool to have you, in that scene for sure. I think a lot of people are more parts installers with these cars.
Yeah.
I love just downpipe and tune. And,
yeah.
But I think it'd be cool. I think there's a big market for it right now, and I think that there's still, being that they're running 7s, I think there's still room, for other improvement, and obviously a lot of R&D still.
Yeah.
Like every shop is doing BMW now. So it's like, do you really want to jump on the bandwagon and be like them, or?
Well, we'll go back to business.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
If everybody's doing it and you want to be successful, what do? You do it better.
But where do you feel like your success would be within that space?
Same place that my success is right now. Processes, customer service, the customer experience, my experience, the consistency. It's the same thing. It's a recipe.
Yeah.
It's a recipe. And that's why I'm very, very particular as to my clients, as to the cars I work on, because that recipe has got to line up or there's not going to be a success. And I don't do it perfectly. But my staff will tell you I do not do it perfectly at all. Like I screw that up a lot, but I do my best.
How long would it take for you to kind of figure that out, do you think?
Well, again, with experience, things happen faster, right? Like, I mean, we've only been working on these cars. I mean, we worked on them a little bit, but we've only been really in this market for 2 years.
Okay, so now this is the question. You said before, shops do these numbers and they prove themselves that way. And next thing you know, they get customers that way. How would you do it with the BMW?
Oh, yeah, that's okay. I love the hard questions. That's good. I like it. Well, you have to put yourself out there, right? So like there has to be a development car. Whether that's a client's or whether that's mine, there's got to be a development car of some sort, because you have to learn. Now, if you have a customer that's just like, I want you to cut your teeth on this car that's mine, right, and I want to team up it, whether I'll pay for it, whether you pay for part of it, whatever, that works great. Or I buy one and we go to town just learning. And that's just easy. you go through packages, right? So it's like, I want this horsepower, this horsepower, this horsepower, this horsepower, and you just do that to your own car over, like a course of 6 months.
Okay.
That's what I did with this one. It was
Right.
800 horsepower, then it was 1,000, that was 1,200, that was 1,400, that was 1,800, that was 2,000, that was 2,300, right? Just make it happen, right? So we would do that, and we would stop at whatever level we wanted to stop offering packages. And then we just put that in the same system as all of the rest of the cars that creates a level of success. So that's how I do it. But yes, you're right. You have to start by going and proving yourself to an extent, right? Like, I'm not just going to put it on the website, oh, we work on these cars now, and then try to fumble through it. I would team up with somebody that, whether it be a customer or my own car.
So I asked that question just because that industry right now is kind of like that. It's like, who's doing the fastest things, and then that's the guy to go to.
That's all cars though. And then what happens is there's this huge ramp of everybody flooding to the fastest, and then they realize all the fastest aren't business guys, and then it rolls over down to the sustainable businesses.
The guys
not that the fastest
scenes.
guys aren't sustainable. I'm not. Please understand.
No, I know exactly.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not throwing shade or anything like that.
No, I'm not at all.
This is just how it is.
I'm not at all.
Because those people have spent money and are money to get to where they are.
Yeah.
A lot of money to kind of pave the way for others.
Right.
To
I mean, how many customers do you know that have gone to the shop that had the fastest of some car and had a horrible experience? Do you know anybody that's happened to, right? You're grinning, right? Because that is a common thing in our industry. Why? Because that business is focusing on going fast, not taking care of the customer. Right. So like, that's what's up. So I go out, I go fast. So my difference is I'm going to go out and I'm going to go fast. Fine. We're pretty good at that. I think that we do that very well. In fact, she kind of proves it, right? Like, we're good at that. However, I try my very best. My staff tries their very best to back that up. Again, we're not perfect. We screw up all the time. Talk to my customers. They'll tell you how much I screw up sometimes. But
you're human.
Yeah, for sure. We are. And we're trying to get better every single day. That's all we're trying to do. So anyway, but that's the difference, right? We put that in a winning formula afterwards. And then the customer comes to us and they say, hey, I'm coming to you because you went this fast. And I say, okay, cool. Let me put you in this winning formula where you actually have a good experience with your car. So you tell your friends to go do their cars and their friends, and then they go, that's how that all goes.
If that's the case, I think then maybe you should do BMWs instead. I think personally, because the Audi market it's not as big as the BMW stuff right now in this current time. That's just what I think.
I think that I chose the Audi because I felt like I would be more seamlessly successful in it for the client, right? Like, I know the motor, right? I know the sleeves. I know what it's made of. I understand the tuning. I understand like it's very, very similar to this car. Right. So like, I felt like, okay, I want to set my customer up to win. I want to set myself up to win. I want to have a certain level of margin of R&D money that I'm going to put in, a certain level of time of R&D that I'm going to put in, and then I'm going to bring to market and try to reap an ROI or reap a return.
Right.
And I felt like all of those things added up. The RS3 made the most sense.
It makes sense
for the customer, right? Like, I'm going to set my customer up the best to have a good experience with my company if I do something that I know more now than I do if I start from scratch on something. It's all nuts and bolts, but every single car has their personalities, right?
You can do both. And then also, once the C8
Could I get some advice from you if I do the BMW stuff?
Me?
I can call you. Be like, hey.
I'm not the guy to call. I mean, I know what these guys are probably doing.
Have you ever broken anything?
On the BMW, no. No. I don't even talk about my car. But no, I haven't. I have not. Yeah,
we don't really have the bandwidth to do both right now anyway. We may do a little bit here and there, but it's something I'm interested in. If a customer brings me a car and says, hey, listen, I want to team up with you on this, I'm not going to say no, because it is a car that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And I have one of my favorite cars that I own that is actually my girlfriend's, but whatever, that's okay. I'm going to claim it. Passenger seat is more mine than the driver's seat. But anyway, is an E92 M3. And I
really?
love that car.
The V8?
The V8 was mine's got a blower on it.
Amazing sounding car, by the way. One of the best sounding cars.
Oh man.
I could say one of the best sounding BMWs, maybe.
Yeah, with a blower and 9,000 RPM. That thing
with
is
a blower.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's sick. My car is I mean, Lindsay's car is BBS FIRs, Stop Text trophies, Acura full titanium exhaust, white on fox red, manual, carbon roof with an ESS blower. And
what color is it?
And Olin shocks, Aspen white. It is the car.
That's like the most common color for that. I feel like
it's just the most common color.
I feel like when you think of E92, either black or white.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I absolutely
No,
love that car.
it's a really nice
But
car.
I have a history. I have a heart. I like it, but the tugs, the BMW, the M3, the M line tugs at my heart a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility.
No G80? Has it grown on you yet?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about the RS3 platform. We actually just got the RS3 yesterday.
Yeah.
And it matches.
Oh wow.
So I'm pretty excited about it. We haven't announced. Nobody knows that we bought it. So I'm pretty excited. We just picked it up from the Audi dealer yesterday.
I'm curious to see how that works out and what you decide to run with. But once that gets figured out, I think that'd be pretty good to see both of those cars.
We'll talk about that in the next podcast.
Yeah.
Right? See how it's going.
So we're gonna see you at FL2K next.
Yeah. Well, we're going to Indy Half Mile.
Okay.
And then FL2K. We'll probably do a streetcar takeover at some point in between there. But FL2K will be the next big one. Yep.
And then after that, World Cup. Do you do World Cup?
I do World Cup. No, real World Cup.
Okay.
Right. You're talking about real World Cup in Maryland?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't do World Cup. We build street cars. We don't build a lot of race cars,
okay.
right? And no, I mean they do a great job, and I'm very glad that they have the rules that they have there.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get we can't get certified. We can't get in because it's like we don't have certified cages and all of that fun jazz. Which again, the safety is awesome, and I think that's awesome. But it's just we don't go up there because we don't build a lot of race cars. We build a lot of street cars that are fast. So love that event. Love Jason. I love that event. I think it's awesome. Cold though.
It was cold.
Yeah.
And I was doing podcasts there. It was
Honestly, you're doing. First of all, you're doing a great job. I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome for the industry. I think that what you're doing is really cool, and you're doing it with some class, which I like. I think that's really cool. Not that you care what I think, but
no, I do. That's why I'm here.
A couple of quick things I gotta say. One, Extreme Turbo Systems are my guys when it comes to turbo kits. Okay. I just gotta say, because we skip by some of this stuff, but I just want to they're racers through and through, and I love their product, and they do an awesome job and work together very, very, very well. I love Michael and JR at ETS. They're just good men. They think about the industry the same way I do, and it's awesome. The boys at Dodson, I've got to say some props to, especially with these cars, because they went through the ringer. They've been through the experience side of things. They've broken stuff. They've got thrown under the bus. They've gotten some crap, and they stuck with it. And their product is, it's making it so that we can all do this, which is awesome. So I just got to throw those. Those are just not only do we use all their product, but they're just two companies that I have a lot of respect for.
Right.
And
that's good. We have to know who those companies are.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And then the guys at Forge Line, Steve at Forge Line, and
wheels,
are just awesome. Wheels are not something to play games with.
Oh no, I actually I have a Supra, and I don't feel like they fit the car.
Yeah,
more for exotics and stuff.
Sure.
But I love the way they look.
Yeah. Well, they're US built, and they're rated they started in full on road race stuff, and the amount of lateral G's that they got to be held on a wheel is nuts. So
they're really nice looking wheels. I like them.
Yeah, they're just super, super well built. I've seen wheels break, and it cause life-changing results in a very bad way. That's one of the more important parts of your car. It's not something not to skimp on. So the Forge Line does a great job. So I just wanted to throw the companies that I respect and that help us out, and we use their stuff. I just want to throw that out there.
So I do want to say thank you so much for the hospitality. Thank you guys so much for everything. Your staff was super helpful. Like you said earlier, I didn't get to cut in and kind of say what my piece with that, but
I know I talked a lot. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No worries. They were super friendly.
It's a like-minded group of people, and it's my biggest asset is my people. They're incredible.
All friendly.
Yep.
All of them.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a Florida thing or if it's a shop thing.
It's a shop.
New York is brutal.
It's a shop thing.
Okay.
There is not one person that is an outlier as far as their respect level, their passion for the industry. They're just good. I've got good people. I've said it before in this podcast already. But all the way from the front office, the young lady that puts the the numbers in the computer as far as our QuickBooks, Kari to Ree, who is our financial controller and does all of our payroll and everything, all the way to the shop hands and the technicians and the tuners. And it's just the engine builders. They're all incredible, like-minded. I'll call every single one of them a friend. I would have every one of them in my wedding if I could. I mean, that's out. I'm not that's going to happen. But no, I mean, they're good men, men and women, good men and women. So I'm very proud and very humbled that to lead them. That's exciting. So
awesome. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Can you tell the viewers where to find you?
Oh yeah, so Cicio Performance. We are on YouTube, Cicio Performance. We are on Instagram and Facebook, obviously, Cicio Performance. The machine shop is Cicio Powertrains. Okay. So if you Google that, Cicio Powertrains, that is the machine shop. We do take outside work. We don't just do our own work.
Oh, okay.
We're a little picky, because I don't want to have horrible backlogs, but we do take outside work that's got nothing to do with what we build here.
Like is it local only, or people ship stuff all the time?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, we have.
And this is like anything, whole long block.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, I'll do a short block for somebody, or I'll go all the way from, like, you send me a long block and I'll send you a long block built that's rated for X, Y, Z horsepower, powder coating, whatever you want.
What platforms? Damn, I should have asked you this before. Crazy, right?
No, I know. So we do. So right now, obviously, we do the V10. That's the biggest one.
Yeah,
we have engines from New Zealand, from Australia, from everywhere, all kinds of places in the United States, from Dubai, from Poland. V10 engines in the shop, which is cool. It's got nothing to do with our shop. It's just us building their engines, which is again, I'm proud of. I'm just proud of that, because I think that's a really cool next level thing. And then obviously the VR38, the GTR stuff. We do LS and LT stuff. For the C8 platform, which you said you want to talk about and we didn't talk about. So
damn, I didn't talk about that either.
So yeah, we do LSLT. We do some a little bit of 2J stuff, not a lot. A little bit of RB stuff, not a lot. Basically anything that aligns itself with us, that I feel like I want to set the customer up to win and me up to win. If I feel like we have experience in the marketplace, or there's a plethora of information in that marketplace, then I will take on the project, and with hopefully realistic timelines. It is a young company, so we are, we're learning the engine side of things, but we're also learning the scheduling side of things, and that has gotten into machinery and ordering machinery and how long that takes. So there's been a little bit of a rocky road the last year or so, but we're really coming out of it. I'm really excited about it. So if you want an engine built, and shoot me an email. I'm Cicio. Cicio Performance is my email. Sales at Cicio Performance. If you want an engine built, it's something I'm passionate about. I love. So I will consider it. And if we're not the right person for you, I'll just tell you. I'm not out to grab money. I'm just like, if I'm not the guy, I'll tell you. Or if we're 6 months out, I'll tell you. If it's not going to work out. I'm really proud of that side of things. So Cicio Powertrains, Cicio Performance on pretty much all the social media platforms. And then if you need anything directly from me, it's Cicio Performance on the email. And I really am horrible at responding to Instagram and Facebook Messenger. So I'm on Instagram as well. Nathan.Cicio is my Instagram. It's mostly about the shop, a little tiny bit about boats and planes, but not a ton.
All right. So there you guys have it. We have Nathan from Cicio Performance. Nathan Cicio.
Yep.
Appreciate you
Absolutely.
so much. And we'll be looking forward to that C8, and we'll also be looking forward to seeing what you do at FL2K and other events as well.
Yeah, man, pretty excited about it. Thank you so much. I would love to be on it again. I appreciate you coming all the way down to Florida. The Florida thing is new for us, right? Like, it's only this. I don't know if you know this. The shop's only been here for 10 months now. So
I don't know if
Yeah, so we're excited about being down here. The Atlanta scene is awesome. And so is the Virginia scene, but we're excited about being down here. So this is I think this is quickly going to become our largest location. Plus, I love being in Florida, so it's fun. But yeah, thanks for coming down. Appreciate it very much.
All right, well, make sure you guys like, share, comment, and subscribe. Keep listening on all streaming platforms, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.